यो नीति से भी आ जाएंगे, ही शुड बी हियर, बट आई थिंक अब तुम लोगों को आवाज़ अच्छे से आ रही होगी. एंड कॉज आई डोंट नो व्हाट द हेल इट वाज, आई जस्ट हैव टू री शेयर दिस शिट, समथिंग वर्कड. सर आप बोलो, आप परफेक्ट, आपकी आवाज़ आएगी. सर कमेंट्स में देखता हूँ. फोक्स, कैन यू हियर हिम? सर कुछ बोलना एक बार फिर से जरा प्लीज़ मेरे लिए.
Hey, am I audible now?
हाँ अब हो गया. परफेक्ट परफेक्ट परफेक्ट. नाउ यू आर, नाउ यू आर देयर सर.
But
सर नाउ
Atul is saying nahi. I mean, I
अतुल
don't know.
झूठा है, छोड़ो अतुल को.
Okay.
नहीं बेचारा झूठा नहीं है यार. अब आवाज़ आ रही है उसको, अब आएगी अब आएगी. 2 मिनट दो, 2 मिनट दो. सो नाउ कॉज आई कैन सी द सिस्टम ऑडियो, नो आई कैन शो यू सिस्टम ऑडियो वाइज. So I know that you are audible now, by God's grace. So the way it works is I figured it out that if I'm using any system audio, its speaker
Okay.
is Ecamm virtual system, right? And then
Okay.
the virtual system goes to YouTube stream and everywhere. So
All
right
right.
now for around mic, if I like speaker, if I select here, you can see that it's Ecamm live app audio virtual, right? I don't know if you can see. I haven't shared my screen now. Let me share my screen.
Okay.
Current screen. Yeah, now you can see my screen, no?
Yes, I can see your screen now.
So this thing here needs to be Ecamm live app audio, and this audio obviously goes to YouTube and people hear it, right? But before,
Alright.
what was happening was, even if I select that, I was not able to see system audio, so nobody was able to hear you. After
Okay.
half an hour, 20 minutes के mess up के बाद, I think we have 8 people from 15 people who were there. So thank you folks for being with us. And this is a great song, by the way. If you listen to Haryanvi song, or if like you to listen to Haryanvi song, go listen to Kitse, an amazing, like one of my favorite songs for here right now in the morning. Nitish sir, where are you from, by the way? Like people might not have much information about your background, personal life and all that. Paytm का तो सब जानते हैं, cause है.
Okay. So currently I'm based in Meerut, obviously a city in Uttar Pradesh. So this is my hometown. And cheers to Paytm that we are still allowed to opt for work from home. So it's like a permanent remote thing. So yeah, currently I'm based at my hometown, that is Meerut.
Meerut, nice. So you're from Meerut only, no?
Yeah. I'm from
Perfect.
Meerut only.
बस्सी के गांव से, बस्सी के शहर से, I mean.
बस्ती के शहर से, हाँ.
People might
So
know
by
him more.
हाँ,
Go
yeah.
ahead.
So no, they do know me as well. That's the reason they are here. Well, I'm not that popular because my content, or maybe the kind of a craft I have, is not that generic. Still,
But they might not know you from like that you're Meerut, na? Would they know?
No. They won't know.
हाँ वही. Like you are not like me who keeps shouting कि हाँ चंबल से ना, so they might not know.
Okay. So, Rahul, before getting any further, I just want to understand the kind of audience we have over here. So, are you people comfortable in me speaking end-to-end in English all the time, or are you the people who will be more comfortable in Hindi? So, do let me know this fact so that I can give you the maximum possible value that I could.
Sir, I'll tell you. मेरी ऑडियंस में ना अभी आई थिंक 10 लोग देख रहे हैं, ठीक है? ये सब हिंदी भी समझते हैं, इंग्लिश भी समझते हैं, दोनों समझते हैं.
ठीक.
I prefer Hindi or like English mix of things, right?
Okay.
I go English when it's more complicated or more like I want to sound sophisticated. Hindi when I want to just do jokes. कोई इंग्लिश वाला लैंड नहीं करते मेरे. So whatever language you prefer, you speak in it. We
perfect.
will be okay. I don't know Merathi. I don't know which language is that, but I think I can understand a little bit of it. So if you want to speak in that, you speak Haryanvi now there Meerut में?
No.
तो
We people don't speak Haryanvi. It's like Hindi only. I mean, जैसे बात करते हैं हम तो यही भाषा है, ऐसा कुछ
नहीं कुछ तो
change
होगा
नहीं है.
सर. There was some dialect also.
Acha, there is one more reason. Like my father used to be an army man back then. Now he's ex-serviceman. So I never lived in Meerut. So I
अच्छा.
have lived like in n number of cities and have changed maybe 13 or 14 schools in my entire life. So the dialect is like something different. मतलब वो resonate नहीं करता जैसे मेरे यहाँ की locality उनके साथ में. तो maybe if you are asking that, तो यही मेरा normal accent ऐसी बात करता हूँ.
तो बढ़िया है सर. तो फिर आपको लिंक्डइन पे वो स्कूल वाले सेक्शन में पूरा भरा होगा नहीं? पूरा like you have list.
स्कूल लिखा ही नहीं मैंने. So I'm a believer of education. I never believe like schooling is something that you should be proud of. I mean, you get schooled at all the institutions, right? You never get education per se. At least as a designer, I can say this. Like whatsoever I've learned, I've never learned these skills. To be honest, I never learned that how to build a design system or how to compose the variables for the design systems in my D school. Never. So that's a part of education, right? So that's how I define it. So I really don't brag about like what my education background it is. It is more about like what I do, वो वाला चीज़ है.
नहीं point है point. I mean until you are from IIT IIM तब तक चलेगा. But those again I also like I've studied accounts which in design helps in the freelancing part of it but regular help नहीं करता है. But I agree to that part के you need to have knowledge. Not doesn't matter which school you come from. We have people who are from amazing schools but might not have went to be as successful or as happy in their life as they should be because वो school से हैं. But हाँ, but the son still liked your बातें. He's like भारी बातें कर दी भाई ने.
नहीं, actually this is the concept which I actually got validated from Steal Like an Artist, the book from Austin Kleon. You have got that book of late, right? So उसमें भी उसने ये चीज़ बोली है कि भाई मतलब there is a हाँ exactly this one. So it is somewhere there in this book like there's a difference between schooling and education. So when I read that, I got myself validated. Okay, this thing makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, we all go to schools, but we get education on Twitter. Cool. And YouTube streams sometimes, if you watch my streams though. But cool, sir. So we have two options. So I can give you the stage and you can take us into the whole design system variables and everything. Or we can just discuss Figma, threads, because सामने ही है. And I have you here. So if you want to jump in, you don't have much time. Let's go into the system वाला part, design system variables. वरना ये तो है ही. You tell me.
Then let's get into the variables. I think it's a thing that I have invested somewhere around 2 to 3 years. So I'm just working on the design systems for the last 2 years. So it is like I've learned a lot, I feel, and still I feel at the same time I feel like still I have to learn a lot, and the lot that I've already learned is like very less, right?
So it's always gonna be less. I mean, that's how you know a person is looking for grow when they say that okay, I still have to learn, right? And honestly, in design space, like I have this imposter syndrome, and I still have it, and I'll have it for my whole life, which is that when you don't learn from a structured way of education, right? So you don't go to school or college, you'll always feel कि हाँ यार कुछ तो बाकी रह गया था, because you will see people going into multiple thoughts and everything, so it always feel like that. But so do you want to start sharing your screen?
Let's get into it.
Done.
So basically I want to interact with the audience over here and want to ask like if people have any basic understanding about variables, like what are they? क्या होते हैं variables?
Here I am gonna be the Sardar of the audience. Like I'll give you the क्या बोलते हैं view of like I'll keep me as an average audience viewer. No.
Okay. No. Okay. ठीक है. कुछ लिख भी नहीं रहे हैं लोग, कमेंट भी नहीं कर रहे हैं, वो कह रहे हैं नहीं बेइज्जती हो जाएगी तो we won't put anything. But honestly before some 12 years ago even I didn't know what variables are since I learned PHP back then. So
12 years ago. So how many now my part in this whole stream is to ask dumb questions, okay? And my question is how many years you've been working or career wise?
Yeah, so career wise, if I go by the offer letters, the official ones, so I started my journey with the startup in November 2013. That was the first organization that I actually recognized with my papers, right? And before that, I worked with a couple of firms. Those were like internships. Then there were few freelance works, like few international clients. And I used to be active on a website called Freelancer back then. तो काम तो मैं 2012 से शायद कर रहा हूँ.
बस आपको एक चीज़ करनी पड़ेगी, आपको वो YouTube स्ट्रीम बंद करनी पड़ेगी कमेंट वाली, बिकॉज आपका यहाँ पे हैंग हो रहा है, लाइक वी कांट सी यू एक्चुअली.
यार ये होना नहीं चाहिए, बट ठीक है, आई हैव जस्ट क्लोज दैट. एम आई ओके नाउ? और फ्रीज आप भी हो रहे हो मेरे लिए, मतलब राहुल इन बिटवीन ना, यू आर आल्सो बीइंग फ्रोजन फॉर अ सेकंड और व्हाई.
हाँ तो भाई बिकॉज नेट का इशू आ रहा है ना, यहाँ तो स्ट्रीम पे जा रहा है पूरा, एंड दैट्स व्हाई लाइक कि आपके पास स्ट्रीम पे आउटपुट नहीं आ रहा, बट नाउ आई कैन सी यू क्लियरली. एंड कमेंट्स में डोंट वरी, नोबडी इज गोना मोस्टली कमेंट नहीं करते हैं, ये सब लड़के लड़कियाँ जो भी हैं बस देखने वाले लोग हैं. कमेंट बहुत मुझे चिल्लाना पड़ता है तब कमेंट करते हैं लोग.
नहीं बट मैं तो एकदम बोलूंगा कि भाई इवन इफ वी गो अहेड एंड क्रिएट अ फिग्मा फाइल, इफ दे हैव एनी सजेशंस, इफ दे हैव एनी क्वेश्चंस, I mean, how many people are there on the stream right now, if you can tell me?
Yeah, sure. अभी we have 6 people. उसमें 2 तो मैं जानता हूँ खास कौन लोग हैं, अक्षय and everyone. Like, so what we'll do is when you make a Figma file, we'll just share the link in the chat, and they'll just
Right.
come up to it and obviously can
Yeah.
work around.
और राहुल मैं तो ये बोलूंगा ना, मतलब अगर 6 लोग हैं वहाँ पे, ठीक है, तो यू आर गोइंग टू इन्वेस्ट योर 1 आवर, राइट, नेक्स्ट 1 आवर ऑफ योर प्रीशियस लाइफ, तो आप उसको ऐसे ही बस एंटरटेन मत हो उसमें. इफ यू आर नॉट गेटिंग एनी वैल्यू, जस्ट ड्रॉप अप फ्रंट. मतलब उससे अच्छे होगा आप बाहर जाओ, आइसक्रीम खाओ, मस्त चिल, because your life is so precious. But if you love what I'm telling you, if you resonate really well with it, तो come and share your thoughts, right? तो वैसे ही है. करते हैं फिर राहुल शो. I'll just straight away share my screen.
Done.
Okay.
फौजले को सेंसिबल बातें बोल दी गई हैं, ठीक है, आप कमेंट्स करना वरना इज्जत जाएगी. लेट मी व्हाट्सएप ऑल ऑफ देम.
Okay, so I've just opened my Figma and let me create a file and I'll name it as variables. I'm not sure what I'm going to do in this file yet, but ठीक है, जो भी करेंगे यहीं पे करेंगे. And
बेस्ट
I'll-
है, दैट्स द बेस्ट काइंड ऑफ वर्क व्हेन यू डोंट नो व्हाट वी गोना डू.
right now, Rahul, let's start with a very basic definition what variables are. और इसको समझने के लिए ना, before getting into Figma, I feel so when variables came into the picture, or maybe in Figma, so a lot of people on Twitter were like, what this gig is all about. They were not able to get it at the first place, but at the same time I was able to even create game using variables. So it was not actually went on Figma doc and check like what this thing is. It was actually the years of experience I have with code. Like I do have my Figma plugins. I did create a lot of open source libraries back then, maybe in 2016, 2018. So I do understand code at the core, right? So that is something, my fundamentals are very strong from the code perspective. I do know what string is, what number is, what are data types, what are data structures. So my fundamentals are very solid. So now I've just got an option for the visual coding. This is the term that probably some people use, or maybe I have discovered somewhere. So it's more of a visual coding.
Visual coding. I have heard that term for the first time. Honestly, this is the first time I'm hearing this word, visual
Right.
coding.
Right. So today I'll tell you first like what variables are. So how we are going to do this. So first we'll create an HTML page, very basic, nothing fancy as much. And then we are going to do some hard-coded values. I hope this text is visible. Let me zoom in a bit.
It is now visible, but again, I'm gonna remind you that most of people, including me, are not. We haven't no
Yeah,
shit
I'll
of
take care of
code.
it. Yeah,
अच्छा हाँ
I'll
तो
take
ठीक
care
है,
of it.
you're
I'll
writing
take
something
care of
like
it.
कि क्या है ये hard coded, but
नहीं
ठीक
नहीं
है.
नहीं, I'll tell you, ठीक है. So hard coded क्या होता है? This is your Figma, right? And you have said like, okay, this is my header for my app. Okay,
Right.
and obviously I won't get into the dimensions, so please don't judge me for my dimension choices because we have like very limited time over here. So for example, we have this header. So there are two choices. First, I can make it थोड़ा पेटीएम का मेरा ना एक डिफॉल्ट है.
हाँ, I was gonna say that ये कलर कहीं देखा हो लग रहा है.
ठीक है,
Shit
तो
sound
scroll
app जैसे
करेंगे.
मुझे पेटीएम करो. हाँ.
ठीक है, पेटीएम करो, मैं अपना क्यूआर भेज दूंगा, यू कैन पेटीएम मी, आई एम टोटली फाइन विद इट. ठीक है. सो नाउ सी कमिंग बैक टू द एजेंडा. सो नाउ यू कैन सी दिस इज अ हेक्स कोड ओवर हियर,
Right.
राइट. सो मैं एक और फ्रेम देता हूँ. जब हम कभी कुछ डिजाइन करते हैं, जनरली दिस इज हाउ वी इनिशियली स्टार्ट विद, राइट. ऐसे ही होता है. फिर
Correct.
जब ये 50 स्क्रीन बन जाती हैं और हमें कहा जाता है यार इस टोन को ना चेंज कर दो, इसको थोड़ा और डार्क कर दो, तो इवेंचुअली वी हैव टू चॉइसेस. फर्स्ट, we can do this and we can change the selection color, right? It can
Okay.
work, right? We have made it a bit darker. Now
Right.
another smart choice could be, so this kind of a form is called, this kind of a design is called free form design. Okay, like you are free, you are doing like whatever you want, and end of the day the core intention behind free form design is brainstorming and ideating in the complete void, right? राइट. नाउ व्हाट हैपेंस इज, जब ये चीज डेवलप होने के लिए आप दोगे ना, तो वहां पे फिर आपको फ्री फॉर्म डिजाइन को कन्वर्ट करना पड़ता है स्ट्रक्चर डिजाइन में.
Structure design में, right.
ठीक है. सो अब इस चीज को वैसे भी समझ सकते हो कि नाउ इफ यू हैव टू स्ट्रक्चर दिस डिजाइन, सो नंबर वन स्टेप कुड बी यू गो हेड एंड यू स्टार्ट क्रिएटिंग अ स्टाइल फॉर दिस वन.
Correct.
ओके. सो अभी मैं वेरिएबल्स में नहीं जाऊंगा, आई विल जस्ट क्रिएट अ स्टाइल, दैट्स इट. ओके. So I can go ahead and name it as maybe primary. That is it. तो
Perfect.
अब ये जो आपका तरीका है ना, जो पहले एक तरीका था जब आपके अलग अलग हेक्स कोड थे हर एक स्क्रीन पे, So that particular method in code is called hard-coded.
अच्छा, नाउ इट्स हार्ड कोडेड इनटू द कोड कि हाँ इसको प्राइमरी
हाँ
बोल रहे हैं हम.
नहीं 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 नहीं, उल्टा हो गया. सो
अच्छा, ओके.
बेसिकली हाँ, इस
फ्री
सिचुएशन में ये
फॉर्म.
हार्ड कोडेड है, या द फ्री फॉर्म कि आपने हार्ड कोड कर दिया ना इसको.
ओह,
यू हैव
यू
हार्ड
हैवंट
कोडेड, या यू हैव
यू हैवंट
हार्ड
थॉट
कोडेड दिस.
अबाउट इट, और बस डायरेक्ट जंप कर गए आप डायरेक्ट कोड करने के लिए.
राइट, ठीक है, आपने उसको कोई स्ट्रक्चर फॉर्मेट नहीं दिया, तो दिस इज कॉल्ड लाइक हार्ड कोडेड. सो व्हेन यू कैन थिंक कि हार्ड कोडेड मतलब वेरी लेस फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी, यू डोंट हैव एनी फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी व्हेन यू हैव हार्ड कोड. एक चीज, दूसरी डेफिनेशन ये भी हो सकती है, फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी कम इस वजह से है ना. अच्छा मैं बताता हूँ, आई विल कम टू इट, लेट मी सिंप्लीफाई इट. कि हार्ड कोडेड में एक चीज ये भी है कि आपने जहां भी ये कलर रखा ना, तो आपके पास स्केल बहुत कम है. सो फॉर एग्जाम्पल ये येलो कलर यहाँ यूज हो रहा है आपके हेडर में, आप इसको एक बटन में भी यूज कर रहे हो, एक आपके पास चेकबॉक्स कंपोनेंट है, आप इसको वहां भी यूज कर रहे हो.
ठीक है.
नाउ ये एक हेक्स वैल्यू है, एफएफडी व्हाटसोएवर, फिर आपने यहाँ पे यूज किया, फिर यहाँ पे यूज किया. नाउ लेट्स से यही आपकी एकमात्र स्क्रीन थी, एंड नाउ यू वांट टू चेंज दैट कलर टू अ डार्कर टोन. तो आपको क्या करना पड़ेगा, आप जाओगे और इस कलर को ढूंढोगे. Even in Figma, you will hunt for this color, right?
Right.
And then you will update it. Then you will hunt for this code. Then you will update it. Or alternatively, we do have smart ways, like you can go and change from the selection. But end of the day, you are doing that thing only. So in code, what's gonna happen? You're gonna search and replace this. So if you have that kind of approach, I'll show you. I'll demonstrate that with a code. Okay. So that approach is called hard-coded, which is like a bad practice. So when it comes to code, it is always recommended you follow the dry principles. Don't repeat yourself. So if you are writing this code 100 times, like for example, this is again a yellow hex. So अगर ऐसा आपका hex है और वो 10 बार repeat हो रहा है ना, तो you have done something wrong, right? So it's better if you call this color as primary and now use this primary like 10 times. You may ask यार अभी भी तो repeat हो ही रहा है ना? Yes, I agree. But at the same time, now you can go and update this particular thing and it will automatically reflect everywhere. And now if you think this in terms of Figma, so this is style.
वही like I was gonna come to that part कि Figma में styles है. So I used to
Figma
do Webflow ना, उसमें this is classes, right? We'll make a class, इसमें हम सिर्फ कलर का क्लास बनाएंगे खास, ताकि whenever we change that color, it changes everywhere. Also, there were multiple classes which would work together, but this was I was taught. I now know why I was taught this, but
ठीक
yeah,
है.
amazing.
ठीक है. So now let's discuss about this. So when we have freeform design, you go completely random, whatsoever you wish, you do that. But once you try to make your design, so in fact ये भी चीज बोलूंगा, जब आप ideate करते हो, आप auto layout actually यूज नहीं करते ना, आप ऐसे शायद कुछ करते हो ideation के टाइम पे कि ये मेरा बटन है, right? So but at the same time जब आप इसको structure design में लेके जाओगे, अब obviously आप अगर कोड का आइडिया है तो पोजीशन एब्सोल्यूट होता है, right? तो जब हम कुछ भी फिग्मा में बना रहे हैं, it is always technically position absolute in code term, क्योंकि हम कहीं भी कुछ भी रख रहे हैं ना, है ना. तो
हाँ, किसी रिलेटिव नहीं है वो. हाँ, या
हाँ,
एब्सोल्युटली,
वो कुछ
यस.
भी रिलेटिव नहीं है, वहां पे कोई
हाँ,
ग्रिड यूज नहीं कर रहे हैं, आप तो सब कुछ पोजीशन एब्सोल्यूट या पोजीशन फिक्स्ड है,
हाँ,
राइट?
right.
तो वो फ्री फॉर्म डिजाइन है. बट कोड ऐसे काम नहीं करता. इवन इफ यू गो विद फ्रेमर, इवन इफ यू गो विद वेबफ्लो, यू ऑलवेज हैव टू कन्वर्ट दैट फ्री फॉर्म डिजाइन इनटू स्ट्रक्चर्ड डिजाइन. आप वेबफ्लो में ऐसा नहीं है ना कि इस बटन को उठा के मैं यहाँ रख दूं, अनलेस इट इज नॉट सेट टू पोजीशन एब्सोल्यूट और फिक्स्ड, यू कांट.
हाँ, यू हैव टू लाइक गाइड इट कि इतना पिक्सल पे इतना मूव करना है, इतना पिक्सल पे इतना मूव करना है, या सेंटर लाइन करना पड़ेगा डेव को. लाइक यू गॉट टू गेट इनटू दोज डिटेल्स एंड राइट दैट स्पेसिफिक थिंग. फ्री फ्लोइंग नहीं है. हाँ,
ठीक है. सो नाउ इतनी इंफॉर्मेशन बहुत है हमारे लिए कि सबसे पहले we'll look into some sort of a HTML text, जो भी. और एक मतलब I would treat you like a baby look, you use your phone. उसको कुछ नहीं पता, इंग्लिश नहीं आती उसको,
अच्छा,
उसको
मुझे लगा मुझे
नहीं
भी
पता.
बोल रहे हो, पर ठीक
नहीं
है.
नहीं.
आई थॉट यू लाइक द सोप वाज वर्किंग, बट ठीक है.
ठीक है. अच्छा एक चीज और है, मतलब राहुल, if I go too fast, and generally I receive this feedback from a lot of my team members, like I speak too fast, right? Because my brain actually processes at that pace. This is the reason.
Sir, same here also, but don't worry, like I am dumb in this scenario. So the thing is here, as like when you said the hard coded thing, right? That's my go-to method of designing in Figma, because I come from visual, right? So we don't go with the rules, we just mix and match. So here I'm gonna be that person who's like, sir, रुक जाओ थोड़ा सा बता दो मुझे भी.
हाँ, वही मैं
So,
बोल रहा हूँ. ठीक है.
so don't worry, I'll keep you, like I'll let you know if you go too fast.
ठीक है. So first we have HTML, then we'll look into hard-coded thing, then we'll see like how variables come into your rescue. Okay. Then we'll go ahead and see how variables actually are there in Figma, the previous way, which is styles.
Styles.
Somehow style.
One
Then we'll
question.
see. Mhm.
Components, do they come under the variables part of before Figma कि नहीं?
नहीं नहीं नहीं,
अच्छा.
component अलग चीज है, मतलब you'll get it the way I'm gonna explain. You'll get the answer for this question by the end of the day, right?
Cool.
So then we'll go and I'm gonna somehow say like variables are styles, and then I'll contradict my own statement like styles are not variables. That is why Figma has released a thing called variables. Okay, so
ठीक
this
है.
is how. So these are like Figma styles and these are Figma
Variables.
variables. Let me increase the font size a bit.
Then it's visible, sir. It's visible
Okay.
आराम से. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So now I'm going to hop onto this particular coding app, which is called Visual Studio Code, right? I hope it is visible, right?
It is visible, but it's a new thing which I have seen. Like I've seen people using this,
Okay. Yeah.
but never seen it open in my screen in front of me.
Okay. All right. So you can just ignore whatsoever I'm writing. This is not important. So maybe we'll call it variables only, like a project name, or maybe you can suggest something, some name for this, anything.
Just call it Project Merit.
Merit. Okay. I'll put MRT. Okay.
What does MRT mean? Merit only?
Merit, yeah, Merit only. So I'll
अच्छा
just
नहीं.
acronymed it in a way. Okay.
But I have learned HTML a long time back in school when we learned what was like body and all that class opening and class. उतना पढ़ा था, फिर तो छोड़ ही दिया था.
Okay. In fact,
So
I've
now,
learned HTML in like my school days, but I was always fascinated. Like,
but you
how this
learned
thing
coding now. You
works.
went to PHP and you went to that partner.
Yeah, I learned it.
So do you think like if I want to become like, so for example, if I want to use Figma variables, do I need to learn code थोड़ा सा basic सा ताकि we have to ना?
You definitely have to.
ठीक है.
I'll definitely touch upon. I don't think I will be able to create any application as such. Like I did have some plan. I do have some notes on my left kept over here, right? But I'm not sure like it will be able to create something. But definitely I'm going to give you like very strong fundamentals that you can use while
No
using these
worries, no
Figma
worries. Sir,
variables.
I'll be honest, this 30 minutes, 20 minutes you've been speaking, this is more value than the last 4 stream I did, other than Vishant sir wala. So people are happy, don't worry about them. Like जो भी बनेगा बढ़िया ही है.
ठीक है. नहीं, I'll get your fundamentals corrected. मतलब that I'm like very sure. Okay, so now look at this thing. Okay, so this is a page. I hope my browser is visible.
Yeah, it is visible. Yeah.
Okay, now let's say on this particular page, I have a heading, right? And
H1,
maybe,
yeah.
okay. And now in H1, we'll say, hello folks, something like this. We have that text. अब अगर जिन लोगों को नहीं idea है, the people who are watching the stream, so you can think HTML is like a skeleton, okay? Skeleton of your body, okay? And now once अब देखो skeleton हमेशा fix है, वो कभी change नहीं होता, वो वैसे ही रहेगा, किसी का भी हो, मतलब if it's Rahul skeleton, it'll have a skull, it'll have hands, it'll have teeth, right? Nitish का होगा तो भी same रहेगा. But what makes these two entities different is उनकी clothing style maybe. एक factor वो हो सकता है. So you can think कि CSS is like clothing on that skeleton, which separates both of them. Fundamentally, they are same.
Styling, yeah. CSS में I'm थोड़ा सा aware because I have developer friends who keep on shouting कि code बहुत like because again Webflow help in that thing where we export HTML and CSS differently.
Right. So now let's say I'll come here. अभी ये कुछ एक जो भी default font है वो pick कर रहा है. तो मैं एक default font set कर देता हूँ for my entire thing. So I'm gonna say font family and use system UI. So it'll actually use SF Pro display. ठीक है, बहुत
ठीक है,
सिंपल
done.
सी चीज है, कुछ ज्यादा रॉकेट साइंस नहीं है. अब आते हैं कलर पे. मुझे इस अब गेम begins and you people gonna have fun, trust me. So you really don't have to remember what I'm writing, but you just need to get the nuances कि हाँ HTML में कुछ ऐसा करते हैं या CSS में ऐसा कुछ करते हैं, तो this is the output that we get. And this thing will help you architect your design tokens or your design system variables in Figma like really well. ठीक है, तो ये मेरा एक है H1 क्लास which is like hello folks, और इसका कलर मुझे कुछ देना है, तो I can go ahead and do H1 color and I can write something. कोई एक हेक्स ले लेते हैं Figma से. मेरी इसी कलर के साथ चले जाए, थोड़ा सा ये कलर करके।
वाइट पे दिखेगा नहीं, बट या गो अहेड विद इट.
हाँ मतलब ले लेते हैं, या फिर कोई और कलर ले लेते हैं, नो वरीज,
Just
कोई
use the
दिक्कत नहीं।
black, like go black only,
No, no,
like
no, no
हाँ, but
black.
black primer.
I
हाँ.
really want to use some color. Maybe.
अच्छा, you chose purple, nice.
नहीं नहीं, चेंज कर रहा हूँ मैं।
अच्छा, thank you.
एकदम चेंज कर रहा हूँ, ठीक है, maybe we can go with pink. Okay.
Yeah,
So now I'll go ahead and paste it over here.
perfect.
Makes sense, right? Now, if you remember, there is another thing which is like card. So this particular code will give me some sort of a card component, right? So maybe I'll go and do this like width 200 pixel, height 100 pixel, some border radius. And now in background, I'm going to use this color.
Color.
Okay. Now maybe इसका थोड़ा size increase कर देते हैं कि actually थोड़ा card वाला feel दे हमें.
Yep.
ठीक है, मेक सेंस. अब देखो, मान लो एक कंपोनेंट और ले लेते हैं विच इज लाइक आपका बटन, ठीक है. एंड ऑब्वियसली यार आई वोंट बी एबल टू कोड एवरीथिंग इन अ वे कि वो एक्चुअली वैसा दिखे, बिकॉज वी आर लिमिटेड विद टाइम, राइट.
हाँ, नहीं नहीं, people will guide it. So just
People
basic
will guide
ideas
it.
बहुत है इतना तो.
ठीक है, अब एक बटन यहाँ पे बना देते हैं. And now again the concept is like I'll say width is 100 pixel, and this is not the way how you write code, right? Obviously I'm hard coding a lot of things, padding
How
hard code
how would I know how do you write code? I mean,
ठीक है, तो मतलब still मतलब if some people who know code they'll be like Nitish, what the hell
हाँ,
you are
कुछ तो
doing.
है. There are people who love, like, so the funny thing is I've seen most of the products and I know they come from computer science है, उस पे पढ़ के आते, right? So they are coders who know design also. So है दो तीन लोग comments में, but yeah.
ठीक है, so let's say this is a button. I'll put some random margin. Okay, now यार वो थोड़ा तो ब्यूटीफुल लगना चाहिए, मतलब at least. So I'll do some justification, just a second. And border,
Border radius would be good, I guess.
I'm gonna add it.
Nice. But one thing like I noticed, which I wasn't aware, so I used to
Yeah.
think when you're doing CSS, you just start directly creating. But now I have that HTML is like wireframing. You sketch everything
Yeah.
like LFD, low ekdam wireframe, and then the designed page is CSS. Okay, structure you make into ekdam fidelity low wale mein, and then you design it with this.
Right, makes sense. All right. So now you know we have like couple of things here. एक काम और करते हैं. Increase some margin, right? So now we have three component over here. So this approach, so now the game begins. Okay, so pay some attention. So now we have a color over here. I have color over here. So you can think like we can have n number of more components, right? We can have, okay, let's do one thing. We have HR. So HR is basically a horizontal line.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So again for this one, I'll go and say border of solid 2 pixel, and I'm going to use this hash. Perfect.
You made
See,
three elements and like
I've actually
colored three
created four.
differently.
I've actually created four elements.
अच्छा,
One,
four
two, three.
element, yeah. Card
Right?
button. Chal, yeah, four elements, four different, like, four time you wrote the color and everything inside it.
Right. So again, color और P भी एक लिख के लेंगे. I'll go ahead and put a paragraph here.
Achha. So do you want to design the whole page? I mean, if you want to.
No,
okay.
no. I will. This is for purpose. Okay, I'll time it. Okay, I'll time it. I
Arey, no. Again, we here have lots of time. It's just about your time. Like, हम तो free हैं.
All right. ठीक है.
ठीक है.
Now see, what happens, we receive one of the stakeholder request, or even if we people decide like this pink color is really not working with us and we are going to change our brand color to a slightly brighter pink color for some X reason. And currently I'm assuming like for each and every case we have to do it.
Right, yes.
So now what I'm going to do is I'll come to Figma, I'll brainstorm and I'll say, okay, let's go with this color. It is different now, right?
Right.
So
Lighter
this
shade,
thing-
yeah.
Lighter shade. Now, actually shade is never lighter. Tint is lighter.
I was not schooled, just letting you know. Not
So,
design schooled.
so in general, what happens is whenever you have any hue and you add white color to it, so you get tints. So this is a tint, and if you add black to any color, it becomes shade. So shade the darkness, and tint is light. You have to remember that, right? And then you have tone, which is like you add gray. So just
Sir,
telling you. Okay?
I'm just thinking my father does paint contract. Like he's a paint contractor, right? So he paints walls and houses. I'm gonna
Okay.
go and teach him, Papa, ये tint है, shade नहीं है. He's like, निकल यहाँ से.
Obviously, it does not matter, but you know what matters
uh,
is when you are in front of a people who really look up to you, right? Or they are the people who gonna believe like you are designing an app for them. So
you
when
want
you
the
tell them these things, so they that thing sets a
yeah, and
distinction, right?
small things matters actually. Like I mean,
Exactly.
no personal experience there, but still matters. Yeah.
Matters. Yeah. So now coming back to the thing that we were doing. So actually we have just updated the tint and we have to use that here. So previously this was the hex code and now we want this hex code. So the only way left to update this now, and just think about this, Rahul, and every other people who is on the stream. अभी तो 10 लाइन का कोड है, इसमें क्या बनता है? Just think about one web page, the kind of a code you have to write. And now think about if even if there is some sort of a website for the front end, you'll at least have 5 pages, and you'll have like n number of colors, n number of components or the elements. And if this is the way how you're gonna do it, कितनी सारी जगह ये होगा. तो अब आपको क्या करना पड़ेगा? You have to go and change it manually. That's the only way, right?
हाँ हर बार yeah.
या फिर दूसरा तरीका could be you do command F.
इसमें does code has replace?
Yeah, code has replace. Okay, so you can go this way and you do this, but again this is not the right way to do it, right? You people got the sense, like this is not the right way to do it, considering if you have 10 files. So now we have got a solution which is called variable.
Right.
So first I will tell you like what CSS variable is, फिर हम बात करेंगे JavaScript variable की. ठीक है? तो CSS में variables ना कुछ ऐसे define करे जाते हैं, इसको इग्नोर करना कि what spaghetti I'm writing, you can ignore this completely. And now I'm gonna say
वैसे भी इग्नोर ही पता है नहीं.
ठीक है, but I hope you are able to get the gist of it, right?
No. That's why I'm like I was not expecting this level of code वाला knowledge to the stream. I was like हाँ Figma में कुछ देखेंगे, but this is helpful because now again whenever I design, so I generally design small products. I don't go that much in design system and everything. Because not a product designer that much, but it will help me now talk to engineers much better, or at least if I make a side product, I can go and look at the code and see if it's at least not that कचरा hardcode वाला लफड़ा तो नहीं है ना, बाकी तो फिर जो है सो है ही.
Perfect. So Rahul, coming again, so what I've done, I have defined a variable over here which is called primary, जिसका value मैंने ये रख दिया. बहुत easy.
So to do variables, you do double dash in front of.
Right.
अच्छा.
Right. If you do any declaration with these two hyphens, so that is a declaration for a variable in CSS. Currently we are just focused on CSS. I would have loved to start with JS, but वो ना फिर समझ नहीं आता लोगों की, क्योंकि I feel ना why a lot of people leave code. अच्छा एक interesting story सुनाओ if you have time, like it will take 2 minutes.
सर बहुत टाइम है, like
ठीक है
मैं कहने जा रहा हूँ, ये नहीं कहने जा रहे, बताओ आप.
ठीक है. In 2010 I was in 11th standard, ठीक है, तो मैंने physical education लिया था, but you can look at my physique, like I'm very slim, and now I think I'm in a good health. Back then I was like even more slim. तो मुझे नहीं जाना था फिजिकल एजुकेशन में. दैट वाज द रीजन कि चलो यार कुछ ऐसा लेते हैं जिसमें ना बैट नहीं हो, कुछ जाना ना पड़े. ठीक है, तो मैंने कहा कंप्यूटर साइंस लेते हैं. एंड एट द सेम टाइम आई गॉट माय कंप्यूटर इन 9th और 10th स्टैंडर्ड आई फील. तो मुझे वो फैसिनेट भी करती थी वो चीज, मतलब यूजिंग इट, नॉट क्रिएटिंग एनीथिंग फॉर दैट. वो वाइब नहीं थी, बस ये था कि हाँ यार ये कुछ तो सही चीज होती है, तो इस पे कुछ करने को होगा तो फन तो आएगा ही, मतलब वैसा मेरा थोड़ा था. तो राइट, तो फिर अब 11th में वो हो गया. तो देयर वाज वन गाय, आई विल स्किप हिज नेम, ठीक है, तो लेट्स से
लेट्स कॉल इट महेश बुला लेते हैं.
ओके, लेट्स कॉल इट महेश. ठीक है, तो महेश एक बंदा था. तो हमें C++ सिखाई जाती थी उस टाइम पे. आई एम नॉट श्योर अभी क्या करिकुलम है. तो C++ शुरू हुआ और मैंने 2 क्लास शुरू की मिस कर दी थी उसकी, क्योंकि मैं पहले फिजिकल एजुकेशन में था. देन स्टार्ट हुआ, वो लोगों ने कुछ बना रहे थे और वो एक नीली सी स्क्रीन होती है, इफ यू आर अवेयर. अभी तो मतलब बड़े सारे टूल आ गए हैं तो नहीं होती होगी शायद, बट उस टाइम पे इट वाज लाइक अ ब्लू स्क्रीन एंड यू राइट सम कोड एंड देन यू डिबग इट. और जब डिबग करते हैं तो वो ब्लैक कलर की स्क्रीन पे होता था, तो वो सब लोग कुछ कुछ कर रहे हैं ऐसे, एंड आई एम लुकिंग एट इट कि भाई मतलब ये तो कर रहे हैं, मुझे कुछ समझ नहीं आ रहा। फिर वो सर आए, वो ही वाज अ वेरी ग्रेट टीचर, वो आए और उन्होंने बताना बताना शुरू किया, मुझे कुछ समझ नहीं आ रहा है क्या हो रहा है यहाँ पे। फिर उसके बाद बिकॉज एक क्वेश्चन जो मेरे दिमाग में चल रहा था कि ये कर क्यों रहे हैं, उसमें कुछ स्टूडियो आईएनसी करके कुछ डिफाइन करते हैं, द हैश इंक्लूड स्टूडियो आईएनसी इन द वेरी बिगिनिंग, अब मुझे याद नहीं है, लाइक 10-12 इयर्स नाउ। तो वो मैंने देखा कि क्यों कर रहे हैं, इसकी क्या जरूरत है, इससे क्या होगा भाई, ठीक है यू ओपन एमएसएन, यू नो इस पे टैप करेंगे तो क्या होगा, तो मैं पर्पस ही नहीं समझ पा रहा था। और वो जो बंदा है ना महेश, उसकी दीदी उस टाइम पे कंप्यूटर साइंस, मतलब शी वाज इन कंप्यूटर साइंस ब्रांच एंड शी वाज एन इंजीनियर, सॉफ्टवेयर इंजीनियर बैक देन। और भाई वो कैलकुलेटर बना दिया उसने सी प्लस प्लस में।
घर से पढ़ के आया बंदा.
हाँ, उसने कैलकुलेटर बना दिया एंड आई लुक्ड एट इट एंड लाइक ये तो नहीं हो रहा भाई अपने से, ये क्या ही है। एंड नाउ आई वेंट टू ऑफिस एंड आई सेड भाई मुझे ये सीएस नहीं चाहिए, बट नाउ स्कूल हैव गॉट एन एजेंडा कि जब आप सीएस में जाते हो तो एक्स्ट्रा फीस लेते हो आपसे,
अच्छा.
तो उन्होंने वो देने नहीं दी वापस, तो दे वर लाइक नहीं, अब तो
Nice.
सीएस में ले लिया तो पढ़ना पड़ेगा। अब भाई मैं रोज जाऊं उस क्लास में, डेली बैठूं, मुझे कुछ नहीं समझ आ रहा है, मुझे कुछ नहीं समझ आ रहा है ये लोग क्या बना रहे हैं, कभी कुछ कैलकुलेटर बना रहे हैं, कभी सुडोकू बना रहे हैं, एंड एवरीबॉडी वाज एबल टू डू इट। और वो बंदा तो भाई मतलब कुछ भी कर रहा है, ठीक है।
I'm gonna like interrupt this thing. The Figma में like variables से जो you made something ना, Sudoku बनाया, calculator कुछ बनाया ना, you made calculator.
No, I didn't make calculator. No, I
तो
made I
Sudoku.
made I made a Dino game. I
अच्छा.
made a Dino game. Yeah,
हाँ.
using variables.
So अच्छा, Vijay made I think the calculator thing. Somebody made calculator, I know variables इसने बनाया हुआ calculator same.
Okay, ठीक है. Wait, it was not me who created it. It is something the guy from Figma called Nicholas have created it. So I actually tagged Figma team, like what is the logic behind it? How did you people create this? So maybe you got confused with that. It was not me who created it.
मतलब स्कूल में कैलकुलेटर परेशान कर रहा था, यहाँ भी परेशान कर रहा है कैलकुलेटर.
यहाँ पे
Nice.
परेशान कर रहा है कैलकुलेटर। हाँ यार, अभी भी नहीं पता मतलब कैच। But anyways, I was not able to think about the logic. Actually, you should get into that file and check the logic, how they have created it. Anyways, तो मुझे ना यार समझ ही नहीं आ रहा था, फिर I was like यार ये फंस गए हैं इस चीज में। और क्यों पता है, क्योंकि मैं विजुअलाइज नहीं कर पा रहा था। द एंटायर स्टोरी इज बिकॉज ऑफ दिस, बिकॉज आई वाज नॉट एबल टू विजुअलाइज एंड ऑफ द डे व्हाट आर वी ट्राइंग टू अचीव। सो माय लाइफ वुड हैव बीन फेयरली वेरी इजी इफ दे पीपल हैव टोल्ड मी ये लिखेंगे और ये मिलेगा। जो तुम्हारा, मुझे अगर कोई ये बता देता ना कि तुम्हारे कंप्यूटर में तुम गेम खेलते हो, आई वुड से यस। तो जो डेव था ना वो सी प्लस प्लस में बना था, एंड देन आई वुड हैव कनेक्टेड द डॉट कि अच्छा ऐसे होता है। तो वो मुझे ना तब से एक चीज मेरी लर्निंग है कि व्हेनेवर आई ट्राई टू एक्सप्लेन एनीथिंग टू एनीवन ना, आई ऑलवेज ट्राई टू विजुअलाइज इट आउट कि दिस इज समथिंग दैट वी आर डूइंग एंड दिस इज हाउ इट विल लुक, एंड दिस इज द रीजन व्हाई आई चोज सीएसएस वेरिएबल्स ओवर जावास्क्रिप्ट टुडे, सो दैट यू कैन विजुअलाइज इट। ओके,
Nice.
ये स्टोरी बहुत लंबी है, आई विल टेल यू कि इसके बाद क्या हुआ, मे बी ऑफ द स्ट्रीम। बट नाउ लेट्स गेट बैक टू
Yeah,
दिस।
we do everything all the stream, but ठीक है, on the stream ही, but अभी करते हैं इस पे.
ठीक है, ठीक है। सो इट्स लाइक प्राइमरी, वी हैव दिस कलर। नाउ जितनी भी जगह कलर यूज हो रहा था, नाउ आई विल रेफर टू दिस इंस्टेंसेस, वेरी सिमिलर हाउ यू डू इट इन फिग्मा। यू क्रिएट स्टाइल वंस एंड देन यू स्टार्ट यूजिंग दैट स्टाइल एवरीवेयर।
Right.
मेक सेंस, राइट?
Yeah.
ठीक है। तो व्हाट आई एम गोना डू हियर इज, सो नाउ टू यूज दिस यू हैव टू डू इट इन दिस फैशन। ओके,
Cool. So I'm gonna go with the naming part. So right now you just call it primary, but if it was a bigger system, you would call it primary color or primary this and that, right? Or does it like if you name a color primary, then you name a font type primary, variable understand that because the color tag is in front, it will only take the primary color, not the primary font.
the nomenclature altogether is a very different beast, so maybe we can talk about this later because it has like separate nuances altogether. ठीक है,
Okay.
तो अभी के लिए I'll be here and you can see the magic now. So now if we get that thing in our head, now we want to change this color to maybe something like a blue, for example, right? Now this is the color, I want this color, so you have to just copy this. I'll open Chrome, I'll open Visual Studio Code,
Go to
and now I
primary,
just
change
and
this.
this, that's it.
Hmm.
This is variable. Okay,
Okay, I'm gonna sound dumb, but this feels like styles to me. अभी तो it feels like styles to me only.
it does, we'll come to it,
अच्छा, okay, ठीक है, हाँ.
we'll come to it. ठीक है, it seems like style only na, at the same time when I was trying to define the agenda for this, I said like first we'll say this is style only in, so why do we need variables?
Yeah.
So there is one small added advantage that you will get, right? So these are like So this is what we have created. So maybe if now I have to define what variable is. So variable is actually something that allows you to reuse a particular property over again and again, and it gives you flexibility and scale that you can update that value at any point in time, and it will automatically get reflected across everything. Make sense?
नो बट ठीक है कंटिन्यू
नहीं
करते हैं.
नहीं नहीं, ठीक है, नहीं तो वेरिएबल क्या है, देखो अगर आप यहाँ पे देखो, ये एक ऐसी प्रॉपर्टी है ना जो हमने यहाँ पे डिफाइन करी है,
राइट.
जिसमें एक कोई वैल्यू है और आप
ठीक
उसको
है.
ओवर एंड ओवर यूज कर सकते हो,
Perfect.
राइट, जहां पे भी. और अब आपको जो बाउंड्री मिली है ना उसको यूज करने की, अगर आपको उसको चेंज करना पड़ा नियर फ्यूचर, यू कैन जस्ट चेंज इट एट वन प्लेस एंड इट विल गेट रिफ्लेक्टेड अक्रॉस एवरी अदर प्लेस.
हाँ ये तो ठीक है, यहाँ तक आई अंडरस्टैंड.
हाँ,
यस.
यही आई सेड ओनली, यही बोलो मैंने.
तो इंग्लिश में क्यों बोलते हो हैवी हैवी में यार.
ओके ठीक है ठीक है, तो आई फील नाउ वी आर सॉर्टेड विद दिस
डन.
थिंग. सो ये जो चीज है ना, दिस इज कॉल्ड योर सीएसएस वेरिएबल.
ठीक है.
ठीक है, अब देखो यहाँ पे एक चीज देखो कि इस पर्टिकुलर कोड में हमने एक हेक्स कोड डाला हुआ है विच वी पीपल आर यूजिंग. ठीक है, तो
Correct.
सीएसएस का गेम यहीं पे खत्म होता है कि भाई दिस इज योर एचटीएमएल एंड दिस इज हाउ यू डिफाइन वेरिएबल्स. एंड इवन यहाँ तक भी आपको ये लग रहा होगा यार कि देयर इज एक्चुअली नो डिफरेंस, देयर इज एक्चुअली नो डिफरेंस बिटवीन दीज टू थिंग्स, स्टाइल्स एंड वेरिएबल्स.
करेक्ट.
ठीक है, अब मेन चीज आती है कि डिफरेंस कहाँ से आता है. अब वो चीज ना के लिए हमें थोड़ा जावास्क्रिप्ट पे भी जाना पड़ेगा, बट अगेन एक चीज होती है जिसको हम बोलते हैं रेफरेंसिंग. ठीक है, अब चीजें थोड़ी क्रिटिकल हो जाएंगी. सो लेट्स से मैं कहता हूं कि भाई एक लेयर ऐड करते हैं यहाँ पे. आपने देखा होगा बहुत सारे फैंसी पैलेट्स होते हैं. ठीक है, फैंसी पैलेट्स. सो नाउ वी आर गोइंग टू इंट्रोड्यूस सम लेवल ऑफ व्हाट यू सेड, लेवल ऑफ हायरार्की आई मस्ट से. ठीक है, तो मान लो अगर एक पैलेट कोई है, आई थिंक वी कैन गो ऑन टू कलर बॉक्स, इस पे चले जाते हैं. इट्स जस्ट सिंपल टूल. ठीक है, तो फॉर एग्जांपल ये हमारे पास कोई कलर है, यहाँ से पिक करते हैं, मे बी 300 और 400. आई विल कॉल इट 300 एंड 400. 3 एंड 4.
ठीक है.
ठीक है, तो ये जो 3 वाला कलर है, आई एम नॉट श्योर हाउ यू कैन enable the hex. Can you see some options so that you can enable hex?
आई मीन देयर इज हेक्स वैल्यू लिखा हुआ था. अच्छा उसमें
नहीं, ये यहाँ पे आता है. सो
अच्छा.
ठीक है, सो नाउ लेट्स से दिस इज अ कलर व्हिच इज लाइक योर 400. ओके, अब यहाँ से देखो वेरिएबल का गेम एक्चुअली शुरू होता है. नहीं तो आप स्टाइल से ही वो चीज अचीव कर सकते हो. ये जो मैंने किया, यू कैन अचीव दिस इन यूजिंग स्टाइल इन फिग्मा.
यहाँ तक स्टाइल कैन वर्क, बट इसके बाद जो करने वाले हैं उसके
लिए
लिए
स्टाइल वोंट वर्क.
यू नीड वेरिएबल्स. ठीक है.
ठीक है, तो नाउ लेट्स से मैं यहीं पे डिफाइन करता हूँ कि मेरा एक कलर है जो कि है ब्लू. ठीक है, और उसका जो 400 वैल्यू है विच इज दिस. मेक सेंस?
ठीक है. हाँ.
कुछ रॉकेट साइंस नहीं है. नाउ ब्लू 500 which will be like this color.
राइट. मतलब 400 में आपने गलत कर डाला है बाय द वे.
तो क्या हुआ?
400 में हेक्स अलग है.
ओके,
हाँ,
कोई नहीं, विल पुट दिस. ठीक है,
ये
मेक सेंस
हाँ.
है ना. सो नाउ इसको ना मैं एक चीज बोलता हूँ प्रिमिटिव्स, कि ये बिल्डिंग ब्लॉक है हमारे किसी भी कलर सिस्टम के. ठीक है, तो इस 2 वैल्यूज बहुत होंगी, या फिर चलो एक और ले लेते हैं. लेट्स से ब्लू 600. ठीक है, नो मैटर. अब देखो यहाँ पे क्या है, मैं कह रहा हूँ जो प्राइमरी कलर मेरा डराइव हो रहा है ना, it should derive from blue 400. So now, rather than hard coding even this, I'm going to use this variable. I've added another layer of hierarchy to this. Make sense?
Yeah, maybe.
Possible नहीं है. हाँ.
Oh, so you made a style, let's say I can call it, that is के blue 400 is this color, but then you made another के primary is not blue 400, it's this variable which is primary
Right.
color, right?
Right. तो ये चीज अभी स्टाइल से आप अचीव नहीं कर पाओगे, and this is the reason why do you need color variables. So I've just said color variables. There are set of different variables in Figma that these people have introduced. So if you'll go to local variables, you click on this. So it is color variable.
So okay, so like for example, why if I go back to the code, right? So the way I see it, if you want to add 3 different colors into the system, right? वी कैन डू दैट स्टाइल्स, बट हर बार हमें उस कलर का जो स्टाइल का नाम रखा होगा उसे नाम रख के हमें उसे एंटर करना पड़ेगा, राइट? बट इफ आई वॉन्ट टू एड वेरी प्राइमरी, मुझे आई डोंट वांट टू एड दैट हेक्स एवरी टाइम, आई कैन यूज दिस which is
Yeah.
that refined. So instead of changing this class of primary, I change this variable which goes, right? So
Right.
like I understand why that is needed.
Exactly. Because you really can't put this reference game into the practice using the styles. And
Achha.
when you have this reference game enabled, so now this is called a referencing. Like your primary variable is actually referencing to another variable which is blue 400. That is it.
This referencing is needed if I think code में, because this is a huge code and there I am assuming this is for server and everything, like कहीं host होता है, इसका कोई reason होगा referencing करने का, right?
हाँ, मैं बताता हूँ. देखिए जैसे ना अभी क्या है, हमने क्या करा, ये हमारे ग्लोबल वेरिएबल्स हैं जो हमने कर दिए डिफाइन.
Right.
नाउ आई कैन डिफाइन इट इन अ वे, इसको सेपरेट करता हूँ, नोट रूट व्हाटएवर इन दिस वे. फर्स्ट लेट्स चेक इफ इट इज वर्किंग. या इट इज वर्किंग. नाउ लेट्स से we want to opt for a dark theme. ठीक है, now you'll understand why do we need even this referencing at the first place. Now let's say we have a neutral. Now let's say we have a neutral color which is like this. And I'm gonna say neutral inverse, which is like white. Okay. Now let's say we have body.
By the way, I'm just gonna point out to the people who's watching this that Nitish didn't use 000 for black. He used 111, and
Yeah.
that is because you don't use pure black whenever you design something. Continue, sir.
Perfect. And just adding to the fact, in fact, I have used 111, but the most recommended shade for this is like 12, 12, and 12. So this value actually comes from material design guidelines. Like the people want you to use this. Like this is a perfect
Google
plan.
material design, yes.
And to be precisely, Google Material Design 2 guidelines, not the third one. I'm not sure.
ठीक है
what
सर,
they are.
आपका सही, आप जीत गए, बस चलो ठीक है. खत्म ही नहीं करने दे रहे. ठीक है, we'll go ahead.
Okay. I mean, it's sad, na yaar. I read a lot. So whenever you say something, I definitely have to add something to it. हाँ, ये
नहीं
भी
वो
होता है.
मैंने देखा ना, वो कौन सा आज ट्विटर पे किसी रिप्लाई किया था कि हीरो ऑफ द मंथ या कौन सा था, एम्प्लॉय ऑफ द मंथ वाला चीज कुछ, वो
अच्छा.
प्लैंक यू हैड दैट ऑन योर क्या बोलते हैं, ऑन योर डेस्क. समवन रिप्लाइड कि ये पेटीएम में मिलता है एम्प्लॉयज, लाइक हाँ होता है, अब पता है क्यों मिलता है.
क्या बोलता है? नहीं समझा मैं. अच्छा ओके गॉट इट. हाँ, विकास राज यादव है.
हाँ, विकास सेड ना कि वो हॉल ऑफ फेम है, तो नाउ आई नो क्यों मिलता है वो.
क्यों मिलता है? ओके आई एम रजिस्टरिंग दिस एज अ कॉम्प्लीमेंट. कूल.
हाँ, कॉम्प्लीमेंट ही है सर, लाइक दिस इज इम्पोर्टेंट.
ठीक है, सो वापस आ जाते हैं. सो नाउ लेट्स से आई हैव दीज ग्लोबल कलर्स विद मी. ओके, आई हैव अ बैकग्राउंड कलर. Okay, neutral was dark, so I'm gonna use neutral.
Inverse, yeah.
Right. So now let's say you get into the dark mode.
Right.
Now you want to build a dark mode. So uske liye there is a small code that you have to write. It is like media.
No, so Figma, when they were explaining this, they were explaining how you move a frame to different, like components to different frame. They change, like dark mode was one variation. They showed the responsiveness in one variation, right? So that usage I got, but I was thinking like, why would someone need it? I mean, prototyping I understand because there are multiple screens. You create that noodles, chowmin ban jata hai, and so you need this, right? But in code now I understand that I don't want to write this whole code for dark version, right? I just want to give a class कि अगर ये हो रहा है तो ये use कर लो instead of using the light one.
Right. So now, for example, we have this add media prefers color scheme light. So this is the case. And now add media prefers color scheme dark. So now if you are into the dark mode, so you want the background color maybe to neutral. But this is not how you define the tokens, but I really don't want to get into that thing, Rahul. What are the right practices? This is not how you will actually do this in the real world scenario, but obviously just to make sure like what these things are. How are you there?
I'm here. I'm just getting a charger. But yeah, in real life, I mean, let's be honest, I don't know how many of people who's watching are gonna code actually like this. But when you're gonna use variables in their design, I think they'll learn the naming part of it.
Exactly. They
should
So now
learn.
just see. Right. So Rahul, now is the most important part where the referencing comes into the picture. So we have, this is the light scheme, this is the dark scheme. Okay. So you can obviously feel in the dark. Are you there? Okay.
You're gonna give me just a minute. I'm gonna plug this in. You sir keep talking. People are listening to you. मैं सुन रहा
Okay.
हूँ, but yeah.
ठीक है. So maybe guys, we have prefers color scheme light. So in this particular color, अभी white color use कर रहे हैं, and we do have this color which is like one tone of your blue, and we are using the same tone even in the dark mode. But now obviously this needs some sort of an update, like color should be a bit saturated in this one. So for that, what we can do instead is we can go ahead and put this here where primary is actually referencing to blue 400. And for this one, what I want instead is maybe 600. So now it is something that will blend with the dark mode in a better way. Okay, not really. Maybe I should have chosen some other color. Maybe we can get a new color altogether from color box. Maybe
I mean,
this color
we
is something that
understand,
will
but
go.
yeah, we'll change the color.
Right. So maybe this is the color that we might need. Obviously, you'll have this entire palette with you, right? So blue 100, this. So now one more hyphen, 200 in top one.
So
I think
based on
now
the
it makes sense.
background color, it will change the color of the components and everything.
Right. So now if you look at the code closely, how the referencing game have helped, if it is a dark mode, I want to the value of the primary should be blue 100, right? If it is a dark mode, this is dark mode, right? If it is a dark mode, the value of the primary should be blue 100. While if it is a light mode, then the value of the primary should be blue 400.
400.
And now it is like super dynamic. If you're gonna make it like 600, one second, first I'll switch it so that you can preview. So for example, this is the current color. If you go ahead and you make it 600, super flexible. You make it 500, everything gets updated, right? Let's keep it 400 only. And if it is a dark mode, so obviously if you want to reduce it down, we can again, create another color like blue 200.
But no, but like now I'm getting the whole thing because now the code is gonna be much cleaner, right? And if someone wants to come and work, it's gonna be much easier for them to make changes.
Exactly. And this is how you scale and maintain the stuff too, because it is just not about keeping your code cleaner. It is about you have to need this stuff if you are working on a product or an app which is at scale, like million of people are using it, because you have to build interface and cater to their requirements at a very fast pace. तो अगर आपके पास ये फंडामेंटल नहीं है ना तो you'll break it someday. ठीक है, तो maybe इसको 200 करते हैं and then we are over with this gig. I hope just a quick revision. You now understand what variables are. Rahul, you tell me like what variables are. What are variables? What is your level of understanding from variables?
So, so variables are like, how would I explain to someone is that I have used this app called If This Then That, right? The way it works is that if one thing happened, another action happens. So trigger based actions, right? So here in this scene, what I've understood is that instead of changing colors every time, we have to make it to different background color or any other scenario. For example, this is for color. But if I want to change font sizes based on responsiveness, so instead of saying that use heading 1 16 fonts, what I would make is I'll make heading 1 a variable, then I'll make a primary heading 1 which will be 16, and then I'll write in the code that if the size is tablet, then the primary is not should be this heading, it should be this heading, which I would call tablet heading. Right, so it would be much easier for me to write this, and I don't have to worry about the responsiveness and everything. And the code will be clean and scalable because in future I can reuse that.
Exactly. And even the part that you have explained to me can be done using Figma styles altogether. You really don't need variables.
I mean, yeah,
to do
in
that.
this small
But,
case,
yeah,
in future.
Right. But again, at the same time, if you enable things like referencing, then you have to use the variables. इसको भी देख लेते हैं Figma में कैसे होता है. तो मान लो you can go here.
So we are just looking at colors now. That's very different. But when we mix color plus text for everything, then styles can't do anything because you can't tell style.
Sorry,
then,
what?
when you use colors, font, responsive, everything, then you can't tell styles कि अगर ये इस frame से इस frame में जा रहा है, then change this thing. It's not possible, right? Then you need
Not
variables.
possible. Then you need different type of variables. Even color itself is a variable, one of the type of the variable, right?
Like you multiple variables you'll need.
Yeah, multiple variables you'll need. Definitely makes sense. तो अगर आप इस पे देखोगे ना जाके, आपको चीजें ना बहुत एकदम ऐसे लगेगी कि अरे यार ये तो हमेशा तो यहाँ पे ऐसे ही लिखा हुआ था, and it makes so much sense. See, so this is Shopify, this is color, this is token. You understand what this thing is?
This is the name which they have used in code and inverse dark mode wala. Naming.
Right? So now you understand P color border magic. Now you understand what this thing is and why they have done it. So again, this is web centric. Things are quite different when it comes to Android and iOS, like very different. But web is very fairly easy to understand. तो इसको आप एक बार देख सकते हो, ठीक है? P color text, you understand where this color is supposed to be used. Again, इसका नामकरण जो ऐसे किया है ना, P color text, there is a lot of reasoning you need to put in.
For that, yeah.
Right? तो वो चीज तो मतलब अपने आप में एक टॉपिक है, we can discuss. मतलब मुझे लग रहा है अभी जिस पेज पे हम जा रहे हैं, I think I need like just 24 hours to tell you like what I've learned over years, and I've now realized कि imposter थोड़ा कम करना पड़ेगा मुझे अपनी लाइफ से.
मेरे को ये बताओ आप, why don't you, so again I'll be honest, I haven't seen your Instagram account, so I don't know if you post images or video content there or not, right? Twitter पे you post threads and everything, but it's very concise, it's very value focused, but utni like the amount is not that huge, right? So you have this much year of experience, right? And so why don't you post about it on YouTube? Why not make a channel? Why not start streaming, right? I mean, like time would be an issue, but you can get half an hour a day where you just talk about these things. Worst case scenario, let's say like if people are watching me doing this shit, they'll watch you. Even if they don't, you'll still have a good gallery of which you can refer people. Like tutorials ban jayenge, right? So what's stopping you from that?
Nothing is actually stopping from me that, but it's more of a that thing. मतलब ये बहुत controversial हो जाएगा राहुल, but मैंने नहीं चीज़ decide करी है at some point in time. I was like very active on Instagram, ठीक है? और मैंने खूब चीजें करी हैं, and maybe I grown an audience of like 25,000 in like 3 months, even less than that I feel. उसके बाद like quick.
ठीक है, हाँ.
ठीक है. अब मैं बताता हूँ what my learning was. So today for example, if I have to measure my learning today, let's say it's X. Now, if I'm learning, so it's like X की power N. Every other day I'm learning something.
Right.
And it is within me. I know like what I've learned. जब मैं आपको भी बता रहा हूँ तो मुझे पता है यार सही है यार, फाउंडेशन कितना स्ट्रॉन्ग है. राइट? जब मैं खुद बैठ के सोचता हूँ मुझे लगता है कुछ नहीं आता मुझे. I need to revisit and learn it. ठीक है?
Valid point.
ठीक है. तो अभी क्या होता है कि जब आप Instagram, मतलब I was putting stuff on Instagram ना, तो मुझे रियलाइज हुआ कि वो जो X की पावर N है ना, वो X की पावर N/4 हो गई है. क्योंकि I was not able to manage both of these things, like putting it out on the social media plus me being a learner learning stuff. So that is the reason I took that hard call, like okay, I'm not going to do this. Twitter is like very occasional for me whenever I like कि हाँ यार चलो ये तो कुछ fancy चीज़ है, इसको रख देते हैं, डाल देते हैं, तो मैं कर देता हूँ. But again I'm like bit selfish on this part, like I still want to learn and grow. I still want to learn a lot of things. I still know, even if it is a design system, there are 100 nuances that still I need to work upon. So I created a token nomenclature architecture back then. अब वो मैं जब उसको देखता हूँ मैंने कहा this is shit, this could have been better. So that gives me more of a kick rather than putting myself on YouTube. And I feel like people like you and a lot of people are already doing that. Like why do people need me at the first place?
No, see that's the difference. See the thing is like I used to think the same thing, right? So when I saw Abhinav, when I saw Sapta, I saw Ans, right? Then there are some good Hindi designers who teach. There's this guy called JFX Mentors who is a Pakistani who teaches amazing stuff, right? And I was like, हाँ यार, why would someone watch my content? Like सब चीज़ तो ऑनलाइन पढ़ी हुई, मैं खुद इनसे सीखता हूँ, तो कोई मुझसे क्यों ही सीखेगा? But they figured out it's a mix of things. It's not just about the content. It's how we like the delivery of it, right? The person who's saying that stuff, right? For example, I have figured out this on Twitter. Like कल last वाले UX में I was not able to tell the story. But मेरे को मालूम चला कि यार most of the people who follow me or like want to talk to me या सीखना चाहते हैं, वो इस तरह के डिज़ाइन बहुत बेटर करता हूँ मैं. वो तो ठीक है, that is part of it. But they like the story part of it. अच्छा हाँ भाई ये बंदा ऐसे कर रहा है, खुद सीख रहा है.
ये तो मैं भी बोलूँगा हाँ.
Right, work in progress वाला पूरा.
That really make me connect to you the way you are, right? You're quite original and authentic in term way the way you put yourself.
But so that's the point, na? So some people like that. Now for you also same thing. For example, if I have to learn variables, I went to some YouTube. I tried to learn from other foreign creators and everything. But the thing was, where you said, na, as a student, अगर आप मेरे को बताओगे टीचर कि ये बनाना है आपको, तो मुझे फैंसी लगेगा ही नहीं उतना, राइट? तब तक मुझे लगा था हाँ यार ठीक है, कोडिंग की कुछ बात है, क्यों मैं फालतू में घुसूँ इसके अंदर, आई लर्न इट व्हेन आई हैव टू यूज इट इन समथिंग, राइट? बट नाउ आई एम इंटरेस्टेड बिकॉज आई सी कि अच्छा आओ नाउ आई, बिकॉज आई कैन थिंक हाउ कैन आई यूज दिस टू क्रिएट प्रोडक्ट्स, इवन इन साइड प्रोडक्ट्स आई कैन थिंक हाउ कैन आई मेक माई डेवलपर्स लाइफ ईजियर, राइट? कि सब डिजाइन छोड़ के भाग नहीं जाऊंगा मैं, अब आई एबल टू हेल्प हिम आउट इवन व्हेन इज कोडिंग और डूइंग दिस थिंग, राइट? तो आई वुड से इफ यू फील कि यार बहुत ज़्यादा हो रहा है, जस्ट डोंट इवन एडिट थिंग, पिक अ कैमरा, जस्ट से व्हाटएवर यू वांट टू से फॉर 2 minutes, अपलोड करते जाओ, जस्ट मेक अ गैलरी फॉर यू, दैट वुड ऑल्सो बी वेरी बेनिफिशियल फॉर पीपल।
दूसरी एक और चीज भी है, मतलब ठीक है, मतलब ये थोड़ा अलग टॉपिक है, आई मे बी यू कैन जस्ट इनवाइट
करेंगे
मी
अपने,
समडे
नहीं अपने किस
ऑन
दिन इस
ऑन
बात करेंगे,
पॉडकास्ट
बिकॉज
ना,
दिस इज हाँ।
कि मैं ना थोड़ा, आई एम नॉट दैट काइंड ऑफ अ folk who might come on social media for that cause, and in fact that's the one of the reason why I put censor bar on my profile pic. Like you have to differentiate out, it's not for the people, it's actually for me. Whenever I look at my photo, it's like, okay, you need to stop here, you don't have to go beyond this limit. Okay, it's more of that thing, but ठीक है, I'll take this and we'll see how this goes.
आई मीन सी आई हैव दिस मिशन, लाइक मेरे को लगता है कि यार इंडिया में और इवन लाइक इन डिज़ाइन कम्युनिटी में, तो अब चलो लोग अब थोड़ा बहुत ओपन हो रहे हैं, बट वी हैव सो मच अमेजिंग टैलेंट विच वर्क्स इन कंपनीज बिहाइंड स्क्रीन्स, और कितना क्रेजी टैलेंट, लाइक पीपल हु आर लाइक आई नो ब्रांड डिजाइनर्स हु आर अमेजिंग देन मी, लाइक बहुत 4x 5x, बट वो सुबह जाते हैं नौकरी पे, शाम को नौकरी से लौट आते हैं, खत्ते एजेंसी चला रहे हैं, पर वो बात ही नहीं करते, उनका सोशल मीडिया प्रोफाइल तक नहीं है। And I'm like the knowledge they have, which when we met, we grabbed that knowledge and we'll seek
यार
with
वही है
that.
ना, देखो राहुल, वही चीज हो गई ना, because they are not on social media, they have got time. They've got time. That's the thing. You have to agree to the fact you need time to do anything, right? It's been
That's
like
true.
12 years since I'm doing. Matlab, I started as a freelancer at the very beginning. I took some project, poster से ERV people. I think most of the people in the town started with that gig, right?
हाँ
Nothing to
प्रोजेक्ट
brag
चाहिए।
about it, right? तो since then और अभी तक भी ना, एक चीज जो मुझे लगती है कि I'm very consistent in what I'm doing. In my age, or maybe with my
In my
experience.
age.
हाँ नहीं नहीं, people are like, not age, I won't say age, because when it was my 18th birthday, that was my first internship day, so I had to face the legal actually. ठीक है, तो ऐसा सीन है, ठीक है, and now I am like around 30, so it's been 12 years since I've been doing this in and out. तो मुझे एक चीज लगती है ना, जो मैं डिफरेंस देखता हूँ खुद में और बहुत सारे लोगों में जो मेरे जितना इक्विवेलेंट एक्सपीरियंस लाते हैं, they get into processes, they get into managerial, full time managerial role, but I still get into that movie, एक फोर्ड वर्सेस फेरारी, यू हैव गॉट कैन माइल्स, राइट, उसके ऊपर है वो। तो मुझे हमेशा लगता है ना यार, मैं एक कैन माइल्स हूँ जो उस गाड़ी को, उस फोर्ड को इतनी स्पीड पे चला सकता हूँ। आई एम नॉट द गाय who sits in the Ford in a bund cabin, wears a tie, and is like, let's build this engine. I'm a guy who actually gonna build that engine. That's within me. तो वो ना
Makes
यार,
sense. I mean,
तो आई एम लाइक वेरी क्रिस्टल इन माय विजन,
हाँ
वेरी
अगर आपको
focused.
क्लैरिटी है, देन अगेन nobody can
Right.
change that. If you have
Right.
clarity on who you are, right? For
Right.
example, I am that person who don't know who am I, still don't know, and I don't know if I'll know it in the next 5-6 years. I'm just doing what I like right now. 2 साल बाद पता नहीं मैं क्या कर रहा हूँ, 3 साल बाद क्या होगा, पता नहीं कुछ भी, right? So if you're clear, amazing, because that clarity is good. Because now at least
Right.
you know कि क्या नहीं करना है, तो टाइम वेस्ट नहीं करोगे आप वहाँ पे, right?
Right,
You'll
right,
rather
exactly,
focus on.
exactly. And I'm very focused. See, if मैं ना अभी सोच रहा था, I was thinking this thing कि यार थोड़ा ना करते हैं, मतलब let's create some sort of a thing. तो मैंने ना कुछ posters and something I've ordered, and there was some fancy gig for this wall. वो पड़ा है अभी मेरे उसमें, मतलब स्टोर में ऐसे ही. I've never opened that actually. मंगा दिया है, वो रखा है. I never did it because I know कि मुझे लगता है यार इससे important है ना. अभी Figma ने have released these variable things, so I should go ahead and read about this, how it works.
सर ये वाला I'll agree to that part, but एक टाइम के बाद you have to stop. I'll tell you why. So जब मैं 2 साल पहले I was कोविड के बाद ना, डिजाइन में जैसे चेंज हो रही थी, people were changing, like the whole thing was changing a lot, बहुत स्पीड पे, तो मैं जिम जाना बंद कर दिया, even because यार कौन 2 घंटे बिगाड़ेगा जिम में, I'll rather learn this and do this. But then now I feel कि यार I understand उस टाइम लग रहा था, but you have to stop somewhere. Like again, this is not like you have clarity कि आपको क्या करना है तो बढ़िया है, but these smaller tasks, some which are boring, some which are different, gives us that thought power ना, जहाँ where we get this task.
See, like gym is a very different thing altogether. Like that's something that benefits you from inner self, right? You feel better.
Even
right? तो
poster
वो
hanging
agree है.
is like meditation, like different for every people, right? For me, it's meditation where I work on something handiwork, like I feel chill. Okay,
Right.
I get from this intellectual designer mindset कि जो एकदम सोचना पड़ रहा है why I'm even moving a pixel to this dumb guy who just ठोक रहा है बस go to basic primitive एकदम कि बस हाँ kill ठोक के निकल लेना है. So again I think लोगों के बाद अलग अलग हो जाता है. But
ठीक है,
hopefully
I think we have deviated from the topic altogether.
which is
But
totally
ठीक है.
fine, which is totally fine. यहाँ पे
Okay.
वैसे भी like it's good. But I think I'll just take one promise from you अब stream पे ही कि we'll do another stream future में कभी भी और we'll do a video.
ठीक है.
We'll just talk about this mindset wala thing, right? Because you
Definitely,
come from
definitely.
you come from Meerut, right? Which I don't think is a very fancy town for designers. People don't think design वहाँ से निकलते, right?
No.
So this will help those people also. कि हाँ यार, you don't need to be in Bangalore or Mumbai or even in Ahmedabad to become a designer in that. So like, right? So बढ़िया है.
ठीक है, perfect. So, but rather you have to school yourself in 10 or 14 different schools altogether.
ठीक है, वो डर जाएंगे, वो नहीं बताएंगे हम, पर ठीक है.
ठीक है, एक बार वापस आते हैं on this
Perfect.
thing. So guys, you can see like what we have done over here. These were the primitives. So let's try creating the same using the new thing that we have in Figma. Okay, so I'll go ahead and say this as like my primitives, or you can call it global tokens. So I'll probably call it global token. So my first collection is global. And inside this, I'm going to create a color variable, which is going to be blue.
200, हाँ.
I'll start with 100, okay?
अच्छा.
यहाँ से करते हैं, ठीक है. Blue 100. So you go ahead, you do this. Another. Let's say 200. Another. Oh.
अब बता, you're creating in, हाँ मैं वही बोलने रहा था, you're creating in और variables, you should.
Right. So 200.
हाँ.
Now I'll go here. We'll do this. I hope my magic mouse voice is not irritating you people. It gets like all the time.
Magic, ठीक है, I mean,
Okay.
no need to flex it, ठीक है.
No, it's not a flex. I mean, like
And I'm just pulling your leg, I know, it's not a flex it.
what to flex about a materialistic thing? I mean, आपने 12,000 रुपए लगाए एक माउस पे. What to flex about this?
देखो प्राइस भी ड्रॉप कर दिया, ठीक है.
यार, अब मैं क्या बोलूँ इसमें?
नहीं, valid point. You charge it ना, बस वही, like that's a good thing. When you charge it, you just think about design, क्योंकि वही meme चलता है हर जगह.
ठीक है. So now let me pull in these values. So I again go ahead with this.
But I think we are having some questions, उस पे चलेंगे comments में. But you finish this one, फिर वही रह जाएगा.
ठीक है. So we have 100, 200, 400, 500, 600, and all of these are the shade of blue. So I'll call them global. Now I'm going to set another collection, जिसका नाम मैं रख दूंगा aliases. So these are basically called aliases. If you really want to read, you can go and search for some articles on the design tokens on Medium, and you'll find plenty of them. So you'll get a basic gist of this. And in fact, it will be worth mentioning Adobe Spectrum for this purpose. It is like one of my first resource that I actually read to when I was starting with the design tokens back then.
You have a thread also about tokens, huh?
Yeah, I do have a thread. You can check that too.
Plug it in, no sir. Like I'll let me drop a link in the comments for people.
Sure.
To
So
read.
yeah, I think you can go ahead and check this. So maybe if you'll go and read it character by character, you'll get a complete summary of whatsoever I've told you in this entire stream in like 1 hour and 30 minutes, right? Okay. So in a meanwhile, let's try creating the aliases. So we have the very first, create variable, color. Rahul, maybe you can do it later, no worries.
नहीं, you do. I'm very fast. It'll take me 2 seconds only, just copying from
So guys,
pasting in comments.
All right. So it's just a counterpart from here. Like we have a primary, so I've just named it as primary. And now I need to add a mode. So for this purpose, I have to move this file to one of my projects. Yeah. So I'll go ahead and put it under experiment. That is it. So now we have primary. So now you can say name. This is the name of this variable. And maybe here I can put in, this is light mode. This is
dark mode.
This dark mode. Okay. And now you can actually do the referencing that you can't do in the styles. So for primary light mode, we had blue 400. You go ahead, you click on this color, go to libraries, search for 400.
And add 400.
That is it.
But can we have multiple modes? Like right now we can see 2 light and dark mode, right? We can have multiple.
You can create n number of them. Yeah. So now for the dark mode, we use 200. So you're going to search 200 and that is it. So now you have both of these colors with you, blue 400 and blue 200. Make sense?
Makes sense.
And I'm going to hard code a bit. Now you understand the hard code, right? So I'm gonna say like this is neutral inverse. So neutral inverse. This is your light mode, which is in light mode. This is white. In dark mode, this is going to be 1 2 1 2 1 2. Okay. Now you understand why I'm calling this a hard code, right? Because it really does not have any supporting variables.
Referencing, like you didn't create a like a color वहाँ पे जाके. Yeah, got it.
Right, now see the magic. So for example, very similarly what you had in code, now you can visualize in Figma. So let's say you start with some sort of a artboard, maybe I prefer this iPhone 13 size. So now you want to use a color. You go here and you say, okay, this is going to be neutral inverse, the background. You can see the token. Now let's say we have hello world. Oops. For this one, I'm going to use this particular primary color.
Primary color.
Should we use Satoshi instead?
Yeah, any day.
This looks beautiful, ain't that?
Yeah, even Comic Sans works for me. I mean,
Okay. So
Nitish just ignored the Comic Sans comment. Thanks.
I like Bradley Hand ITC and I do like Papyrus. That's one of my favorite phone. You know the movie, favorite movie Avatar.
No,
So
I'm
there's
gonna
Papyrus.
cut this clip and post it on Twitter. This is gonna be a great engagement farming tweet.
यार पता है सोशल मीडिया पे एक चीज और होती है कि दे डोंट नो माय क्राफ्ट, राइट? ये पार्ट पे मैं अग्री कर जाऊंगा राहुल, ठीक है, कि मुझे शायद जाना चाहिए और बताना चाहिए लाइक व्हाट आई नो और व्हाटएवर. अभी जब मैंने एक प्रोटोटाइप फिग्मा पे बना के डाला, देयर वाज वन फोक एंड ही रोट, इफ यू फील फिग्मा इज मैजिक यू शुड ट्राई प्रोटोटाइप. तो मुझे सच में लगा कि मैं क्या बोलूं इसको.
You should have said बाप को सिखा रहा निकल.
नहीं सच में आई हैड दैट फीलिंग कि मैं क्या बोलूं इसको, कि यार मतलब मुझे नहीं पता होगा ये, मतलब कि क्या बात है ये.
नहीं
ठीक
बट
है.
वो होगा, वो हर जगह होगा. सो cause
राइट.
every tweet you can't always say ना कि I have told you experience ये किया है मैंने, right? Context पीछे का कुछ ही लोगों को होगा and then they go to your profile and learn, right? So it's always gonna happen. Like threads पे ये हो रहा है. Threads पे you go, you tweet something, like thread पे, sorry, what do you do in thread? You thread something on threads. तो नहीं पता होगा ना लोगों को until you post on that.
Right.
Which I don't know you won't because you don't like Instagram and everything, but
अभी तो मैं मतलब I'm like surely into deep work, right? I just want to focus work, and if I have knowledge, if I have experience, if I know the right thing, you can build following any other day. I mean, it should not take much of a time, right? But the people like you can help me. Maybe 2 years down the line when you will got like some 1 million subscriber, and then I will show up as a guest again and will snatch your 200 subscribers.
Sir, sub ले जाओ. See, the end of the thing, this content thing is so very simple. Like I've told this on the first stream also, that I like to learn when there's some benefit for me to learn. Like learning to hey benefit, but there should be something extra, right? So the brand design, even Webflow and everything I learned when I got a freelance project. So I was making money while learning. The streaming part is because I wanted to learn these things, but अकेले बोर हो रहा था मैं अब घर पे बैठे बैठे सीखने. ठीक है, आज लाइक के क्योंकि टीम तो है नहीं रिमोट में, आज लाइक सबको साथ में सीखते. So this is just me learning. Like this is I would have asked you to give me a personal class. Stream पे कर रहे हो अच्छा है like.
ठीक है. So Rahul, coming back to this one again, हमने काफी बात कर ली, तो I'll again walk the audience through this. So guys, we do have these global tokens which has like hard-coded values over here. Then we have defined a semantic, which is like you can call it alias as well. So it is like primary value. You have light mode. So it is referencing to blue 400, and for the dark mode, it is referencing to blue 200, and this is hard-coded value for the neutral inverse. That is the color that is using for the background in both of these. Okay. So now let's say you want to turn this thing into a dark mode. So Figma have given you this amazing feature. You go to alias, you choose dark mode. Boom.
And the color change a shade, but changes. Oh, sorry, tint, but changes.
But changes, right? So this is why it is needed. And now you can connect the dot why I started with the code first. Okay. So it was just about Figma color variables. We are still left with Figma numbers, Figma number variables, Figma string variables, and we have one more that is Boolean. Right?
Boolean, I'm excited to see because Booleans we use in logos and design. Like, I don't know how in this code, how it's used.
Okay. Just one quick question, Rahul. I think this will be sufficient for today. Like people can definitely go ahead and start creating their design system using like a token taxonomy. But before wrapping this up, I want to give you a quick insight on what is the difference between string and number. ठीक है, तो आप मुझे बताओ राहुल, what will be the output for this one? अच्छा उसने खुद ही दिखा दिया आउटपुट कुछ ज्यादा ही फाइनल है. So see, look
मैं
at this
80
one.
बोलने वाला था अभी मैथ करके.
चलो अच्छा ठीक है, but that was something that most of the people end up saying कि 40 plus 40 has to be 80. But
हाँ.
why then the result is like 4040, right? So in code there are different type of variables. Now I'm touching upon the different type of variables that Figma has released.
Right.
And the different type of variables that you can define in any programming language are called data types. So they are identified as a data type. So color is one data type of that variable. Number is another data type of that variable, and so goes other two properties. Okay. So now when you do this, so now see the difference. The result of 40 plus 40, when you have these quotes around them, whether double quote or single quote, you get 4040. But at the same time, if you do this, you get 80. Why is it happening?
So when I'm like I'm assuming this when it is in the quotes, it's taking as words, not as numbers.
Exactly. So that thing is called string, and this is number. Okay. So now if you're gonna do 40 multiply by 40, somehow it calculated, but it should not. Like ऐसा होना नहीं चाहिए था. यहाँ
क्योंकि
पे ऐसे
वर्ड को
कर
यू
दिया.
कांट मल्टीप्लाई ना.
You can't multiply, right? ये होना नहीं चाहिए था. I'm not sure why it acted like this, but it should not be the case. और अगर आप इसको actually एक सेकंड रुको, तो बड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग है. अगर ऐसा होता है तो
I mean words can't do that. तो फिर
no, it shouldn't be the case because वो हो नहीं सकता. इसमें आपको ना एक एरर मिलता है is none करके, तो वो मतलब होता है कि is not a number.
गार्लिक. हाँ सॉरी.
ठीक है. So I hope you got the gist. So in Figma we do have these a lot of other type of variables, right? So you can go ahead and try
Like, I mean
testing
that I
them
think
out.
people will have to experiment by their thing and then
Right.
see and वो अब करना पड़ेगा. But at least fundamentation clear हो गया, मेरे भी clear हो गया. But I still have one question which I want to ask you is कि why should the designer use variables in designs? क्योंकि मुझे अगर चेंज करना है डार्क मोड टू लाइट मोड, राइट, तो मैं सारे डिज़ाइन तो चेंज नहीं करूँगा. लाइक आई एम गोना मेक 50 स्क्रीन्स डार्क एंड लाइट मोड. आई जस्ट मेक वन. जैसे डिज़ाइन को आइडिया आ जाएगा, अच्छा डेवलपर को आइडिया, अच्छा ये कलर डार्क में यूज़ करना है, एंड देन दे कैन क्रिएट द स्टाइल्स, राइट. Why do I need to create variables in Figma and create a product with this?
So you always have to decide like how or in what kind of a work setup you are working. If you're working alone, it hardly does not matter. You can even completely give up on styles even. You don't have to use them. But when you are working on a scale or with a team of like 50 members, then you have to make things like very structured. So this is where your design system, and again scale is a factor, right? So you have just said like how many screens do you reference? 2025, right? A website with a
Yeah.
2025. But think about YouTube, how many pages they have, right? They do have their support kind of a Google itself has their help and support section, but in general maybe brands like Medium, so they'll have their upfront like big design upfront, like the thing that we see. Then they do have their support system. They might have some sort of an app. In that scenario, you definitely need to have this token architecture at the core. Else you will always be, thinking like, what was my hex on my iOS device? What was my hex on my Android device? What was my hex on the
I
web?
mean,
And for the dark mode, so it
got
gets
it.
really
As a
very
side project builder, or even for landing pages, variables are not that many. I mean, for landing pages, I don't want to do this. It's just too much into that, right? But
No,
for a product which is going to become...
it is actually helpful. See, now you may consider this is a little bit of flex, but again, I just want to show you this thing. See, this is
I
my
consider everything a
website.
flex है. Like आप कुछ भी बोलोगे मैं flex ही बोलने वाला हूँ. हाँ ठीक है.
ठीक है. So let's say, let me undock this. Okay. So now if you go ahead and do this into dark, so just see what happens. BG primary, neutral, neutral low, neutral inverse, primary, neutral, neutral inverse, right? Now if I go to light, see, I've used the same approach. What gives me the flexibility? If tomorrow I have to tweak something in this page, I go ahead and do this, and it'll feel like get everything working.
Get everything working.
See, So think about the scale that you are getting. Else, what you would have had to do, like going to every other alternate place and then updating it. And now, I hope you just got the gist, right? So
Yeah, I got
it's
this. I
always
mean, I'm using my uh, like I'm basing this through Webflow because that's the only interaction I had with code, or even
Hmm.
understanding how code works or diffs and
But
everything works.
but you know what, like how I define myself is like most of the time as a design system architect or maybe a system minded designer. I think about systems like you have 10 different
Hmm.
silos, how you can bring and unify them so that end of the day your user has more consistent and cohesive experience. So that's something, if you want to aim for that, then you need to take care of these things at the core. And one more thing, like I'll show you. See if this is the app. I'm not sure if they have this feature. Wait a second. So if you want to, if for example, if I change this size to large, right? I've changed it
Hmm.
to large. Did you see any impact over there? Nothing, right? Oops. Oh, कहाँ टैप कर दिया मैंने? Okay, so for example, medium. So there is no impact, right? So if there is some sort of a user, now I'm optimizing for the accessibility actually. For example, Nitish is a user who have some sort of a difficulty with the smaller font sizes and he
Hmm.
want to use larger font sizes. So around is actually not adapting to that font size. But at the same time, if you look at my page,
It
go
will.
ahead and you do this large, it will actually adapt to that. So now this is again a thing that is being done using the tokens at the first place.
Tokens. Yeah.
So just think about like how or what you want to achieve end of the day.
Hmm. I mean, I'm still
Okay.
trying to find how can I personally use it. But I think audience who's watching is would have got an idea of how to like use it for the personally. But at
Right.
least so you can stop sharing. I'll share and we'll go through comments also.
Okay, wait a second. How to share here? Okay.
Just
Yeah.
stop your
I
sharing
hope I
and
hope I had some sort of a value for all of you people.
so now
Right.
you see now you're just being humble and still
Okay.
flexing. You
नहीं नहीं
had you
नहीं
had
नहीं.
you had come on. Like do you think people will say कि नहीं यार मजा नहीं आया ये अच्छा नहीं था? Obviously people got like
Okay.
I got a
How
lot
many
of things. I
people are
don't
there?
know.
How many people are there on stream? Yeah, still on the
This is a,
stream.
by the way, this is a record. Like by the end of the stream, I always have 4 or 5 people which I know personally.
Okay. Okay.
There are 18 people right now watching,
Okay.
which never
Cool.
happened. So I'm gonna thank you folks.
Thank
आग
you,
पूछ
folks.
पिचेड folks हाँ सर
Okay.
वो प्रगुन वाली ट्वीट थी ना तो गाइस नहीं बोलता मैं folks बोलता हूँ
वो वाला लिफ्ट वाला क्या?
हाँ
स्लैक
अरे
लिफ्ट
वो
वाला?
वही चले जा रहा है अब वो थ्रेड पे पोस्ट कर क्या है अब वो एंगेजमेंट वहां लेगा मैं बोल रहा क्या ही मिल करे जा रहा है एक ट्वीट मिल गया भाई ने उसको बराबर मिल कर लिया आई एम गोना ऐड कमेंट्स सर एंड यू
Mhm.
कैन रीड इट हियर लेट मी जस्ट ऐड देम वेरी
Okay.
सिंपली टू दिस ओवरले
Okay. All
and
right.
which is very I'm just gonna add screen sharing a setting is gonna be ecom live and it's gonna be just comments so I'm adding them here for you
Mm.
if I drag them up here and
I can't see your screen, by the way.
I'm gonna share my screens. Just a second, sir. So this is here. Now people can read the stream hopefully. नहीं तो सिर्फ देख तो पा रहे थे. And just gonna make this into a green screen कि ताकि comments एकदम clear हो जाए. I'm just designing screen का stuff. So if I share my screen right now on around, you would be able to. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, I can see your screen, but the font size is like very small for me to read.
Comments का अब हो जाएगा सही sir. Now you will be able
Okay.
to see them.
All
Perfect.
right. Perfect.
So
Perfect.
so people are seeing this. Like if I remove this, people are seeing background में ऐसे देख रहे हैं लोग. Like they are
Mhm.
seeing this and then ये comments वाला उनको अलग दिख रहा है ऐसे side में. So
ठीक है.
उनका view तो perfect clear है. उनको view में issue नहीं आ रहा है. So we'll go comments slowly.
Okay. All
And
right.
Vaishali is saying do these. अच्छा, they are going. By the way, we have to give a shout out to Atul. Atul Khola.
Okay.
He actually did post it on his Discord server, Design Drug. If you haven't
Okay.
joined, then join it. And I think most
Okay.
of people have come from there. And then there's this Discord called After Hours, where I also go and work. So they have also come. So thank you, folks. So yeah, like most of them are from there. We'll go slowly. Max and is doing more streams. We'll do. Subham is like, क्या मतलब expect नहीं था मैं
यार
सर
ये
थोड़ा
यार Shubham, is this the तारीफ or is it a बेइज्जती on a face?
तारीफ फॉर यू, बेइज्जती फॉर मी.
इतना ज्ञान एक्सपेक्टेड नहीं था.
बट शुभम डज दैट. शुभम की आदत है, वो इंस्टाग्राम में ही छोड़ता है, इंस्टाग्राम में आके भी मजाक उड़ा रहा होता है, बट ठीक है. लाइक कौन कौन ठीक है. आग कैन वी एक्सपोर्ट दिस टोकन फ्रॉम फिग्मा टू हैंड ऑफ टू डेव्स.
Can we export this token? Okay, so this is still one of the challenge that we have in hand, but actually answer is not simple. Yes, you can do that. Like there are a couple of plugins now that can help you export these tokens actually.
Not
right?
natively is not possible from Figma, but you can use some other methods plugin like that.
Right.
Cool.
Right. And I think it is one day game. You have created the tokens. So you should document it in a Figma page. Like this is all the properties that we have. These are all the values that these properties have. And again, property and token is the same gig. And end of the day, token कुछ नहीं होता है, ठीक है? Token is a methodology.
अच्छा.
That's it. मतलब जब
Token कुछ
reference
नहीं होता है.
हाँ नहीं नहीं literally token actually is a methodology. Token is not something tangible in its nature like what we have variables. Like you can say okay this thing is a variable, but token is not something. It is like still very abstract. ओके तो आप एक बार पेज बना के हैंड ऑफ कर दो एंड आफ्टर दैट ऑब्वियसली अगर जहां भी वो स्टाइल यूज हो रहा है तो पीपल विल बी एबल टू यूज इट. लाइक डेवलपर्स विल बी एबल टू अंडरस्टैंड ओके दिस इज वेयर दिस थिंग इज यूज्ड. मैं दिखा देता है स्क्रीन शेयर करके, बट आई थिंक we'll again have a lot of trouble if we do that. So yeah.
नहीं, we can, but अभी वो टाइम बहुत ज़्यादा लग जाएगा, तो we'll
ठीक है
not get into that. ठीक है.
Yeah.
Atul, I have to add jokes. At least I have to add something into the stream, because बाकी तो I was just watching like you, but ठीक है. Sir, we have like Max Time is saying you're amazing, which I agree.
Who is Max Time, by the way? I would love to know like what's your real name is. He has
sir,
even more censored profile than me. But thanks Max, thank you.
बोला क्यों बेचारे को डॉक्स कर रहे हो, लेकिन सो आई हैव वेब3 folks who don't want to dox themselves, but ठीक है.
Okay.
Atul has asked a very good question. I think you should definitely talk about this, which is how can beginners learn about design system, or how did you start learning about the system? What was your starting point and how can they learn?
Okay, let's break this question into two parts. ठीक है, first one is how can beginners learn about design systems? ठीक है, तो उसके लिए तरीका ये है यार, फर्स्ट ना यू शुड गो एंड ट्राई टू अंडरस्टैंड द फंडामेंटल्स फ्रॉम द कोड. राइट, जो मैंने बताया, जब तक आपको उसकी अंडरस्टैंडिंग नहीं है ना, आप कभी एम्पैथाइज. सो बेसिकली व्हेन यू क्रिएट अ डिजाइन सिस्टम यू हैव गॉट टू यूजर्स दैट यू हैव टू एम्पैथाइज विद. फर्स्ट, a designer who is going to use that design system, and second is a developer who is going to consume that design system. So I assume you already know the language of the designer, but you don't know the language. Most of the time the people that I meet does not understand the language of the developers. So to talk in their language, you have to get into their stack and learn it. It is really not that tough. It's fairly very easy. If you go to a website called Code Academy, and me myself have learned code from Code Academy maybe some 4 or 5 years ago. So they have a very beautiful way of doing it. Like on left side, they'll tell you like this is how the heading tag is in HTML. This is the syntax. And on the right, you have to put that in. And then you go to the next step. So I never took HTML and CSS courses from that. I used to buy Digit, a magazine, a very popular magazine back then. So उसमें CSS के tutorial आते थे. बकी करके कोई था यार, I don't know who is that, because back then YouTube was not there, or at least we didn't have the internet to access the YouTube. तो वो DVD आती थी.
I never thought somebody could top up self-taught with like more than YouTube, right? Like we have seen self-taught from YouTube, and I have learned like Photoshop. I have learned from a book, right? So वो मेरा बहुत flex. Whenever I have to flex a lot, ना, I use that कि हाँ book से सीखा है. But magazine से किसी का article पढ़ के तो अब तो I don't know who can top that, but crazy sir.
ठीक है, तो मतलब it was a DVD, and उस DVD में आता था वो CSS tutorial, HTML tutorials, PHP tutorial. PHP I didn't actually learn from that. वो मैंने in person एक बंदे से सीखा है back then. But हाँ, HTML CSS I learned from that. और स्कूल में जब हम C++ कर रहे थे, the story that I told earlier, तो उससे भी थोड़ा रेफरेंस है कि मुझे आइडिया.
वो खत्म नहीं हुई बात है स्टोरी, वो कैलकुलेटर बनाने के बाद बंदे का हुआ क्या?
हाँ, will tell you.
अच्छा
वो बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग स्टोरी है. तो now I will say कि first go ahead and at least, ये किसी बंदे ने पूछा भी है क्वेश्चन कहीं पे ना कि the language, what is the language that you should start with? I feel JavaScript is one of the language which is fairly easy, और designers ना उससे resonate कर पाते हैं, ठीक है, because everything is visual. What you are doing on code editor, it actually reflects on the browser, so you are able to visualize what you are building, right? So I feel you should start with JavaScript, and once you are comfortable with things like conditionals, loops, मेरे प्लान से तो आया था यार कि I would tell you about all these things, but I don't think कि बहुत ज़्यादा हो जाएगा आपके लिए, तो I'll skip on that part. तो वहां से आप शुरू करो. First go ahead and start looking into what CSS, HTML and JavaScript is. Try understanding these basic nuances. एक बार वो हो जाता है, then start studying the design systems that are already in the practice. अच्छा, एक चीज और बोलूंगा कि design system is actually a collection of different small systems. मतलब इसकी बहुत formal definition नहीं है, but just a breakup for you people. A design system is a collection of few subsystems. So for example, type system, right? Color system. So what we have made in this session was a color system. So there could be another system which could be a type system. So now you should go ahead and try reading about color system. So when you start creating a color system, what are the best practices from visual or optical nuances, right?
Nitish sir, I would like request one thing if you have time, like not right now, but later in the day or tomorrow. If you do a thread on these resources, I think resources would definitely help folks, right?
ठीक
So
है,
if you can
ठीक
just
है.
link them, it will be helpful
Okay.
for people. They'll find it, but they'll at least get idea of which resources you find is should be like at that
ठीक है.
level.
Okay, I'll try to find it. और उसके अलावा जो तीसरी चीज मैं बोलूंगा ना, once you understand these different systems, learn them, and the third thing is start studying other design systems that are in place. Go and start exploring material design, and see like what are the goods that they have. At the same time, you can go ahead and check Spectrum ka design system. Again, I think Spectrum is one of the best design system to start with because it's very simple, easy to comprehend, makes sense like in and out. Once you are comfortable with all these nuances, then you should go ahead and start exploring translation tools like Theo or Style Dictionary. Like this is something that you have created in Figma. Now, if you want to translate this into a native code, so again, you need to learn the Style Dictionary or any translation tool. So this is how you should, or itna kar loge na, then you don't need me to explain what are the next steps. Because when I go out and I try to read stuff, I don't find any worthy article. And obviously I really don't write any articles unless I don't feel कि उसको लिखने की नीड है. जैसे मैंने भी डिजाइन टोकन्स पे एक आर्टिकल लिखा था, तो व्हेन आई स्टार्टेड इन दिस, आई ऑलरेडी केम फ्रॉम अ कोड बैकग्राउंड, आई न्यू लाइक व्हाट दिस थिंग इज, but still it was very hard to comprehend for myself. So I thought let's break this thing into chunks. ऐसी सेम चीज ग्रिड के लिए थी. तो बैक देन बूटस्ट्रैप ग्रिड वाज अवेलेबल, बट आई वाज नॉट एबल टू अंडरस्टैंड व्हाई डू वी नीड दिस एट द फर्स्ट प्लेस. So this is the reason why I wrote the responsive grid article on Medium. It is till date is like one of the most popular article that I ever wrote. And in fact, I received DMs from people on Twitter like you saved my soul by writing this article. So again, आप पहुंच जाओगे स्टेज में, then you won't need any other help from external folks. You'll yourself get the direction to move forward. तो मैंने दोनों ही चीजें आंसर कर दी है मैंने, like how I learned and like how you should learn.
If you can't find a magazine, then just go to internet. Coming back, Aniket said like he appreciated that you created a custom Figma icon. But by the way, I want to show you something. Like someone has a custom Figma icon on their Figma.
Yeah, is it you?
Yeah. But by the way, I made a reel today where I explained how to do that. And obviously I use this Figma only because I was changing. Nice. So I was like, I have forgot to mention you there, but I'll do that.
No worries, no worries.
Then we don't have like these as many question kind of things. We have hello, let's go. Yeah, here's Atul sir. I said no.
Okay.
स्कूल में भी कुछ सिखाते नहीं कुछ नहीं सिखाते.
नहीं ऐसा नहीं है, मतलब वो कुछ सिखाते हैं बट वो नहीं पता यार. मतलब जैसे अब ना मैं तो ये बात बोल रहा हूँ, इवन इफ आई डिफाइन माई सेल्फ एज अ प्रोडक्ट डिजाइन और a UI guy or maybe a UX guy, so probably you can do everything. Maybe even if you are a design system architect on a professional role, still you can handle some gig for the UX on a freelance. You can do that, right? So it is not necessary that you learn everything from one place. You still have to learn from different places. Like if you are from a D school, I feel you will be a great empathizer. You'll know the art of empathizing. You'll be very comfortable with a method like design thinking, right? So it depends. It depends.
I mean, design school I never went, so I can't say about like how the method and everything is. But I went to normal school. Might not look like it, but I did. So in that I feel what I learned from that was how to work with my peers. Like that was the biggest thing, because before that.
And Rahul, in fact, you have learned mathematics from them, na?
I mean, I was coming to that part, was I think life में क्या चाहिए. Like so, for example, people say ना कि Rahul, you were doing accounts, now you do design, the accounts are waste. नहीं waste नहीं हुआ है. When I do freelance, when I do my taxes, when I do this, I use that accounting knowledge, right? Even when by God's grace, after 4 years in design, I got into pitch decks. अब पिच डेक्स में द मोस्ट यूजफुल वाज नॉट डिजाइन, वो तो आ रहा था लेटर स्टेज पे, वाज अकाउंट, बिकॉज द होल गेम वाज अबाउट नंबर्स. दैट्स लाइक अ वेस्ट, कुछ नहीं होता, इट गेट्स
नहीं नहीं,
यूटिलाइज्ड.
डेफिनेटली.
But you let a stage when you think ne, कि हाँ कैसे हुआ, then you find these things like so. I like there's this theory I believe in that if you think about your story from first year of your life, right, कि यार मैं ऐसे स्टोरी लिखूंगा, तो वो तुम्हें मिलेगी नहीं स्टोरी. You have to get some experience, then you go back 5 years back कि अच्छा क्यों हुआ था, then you find reasons कि अच्छा इसलिए हुआ था, इसलिए हुआ था, इसलिए हुआ था. But thing, I think we have covered most of the comments.
Perfect.
अक्षित सर was saying प्रभु के दर्शन हो गए, so
हे
आशीर्वाद दे
भगवान.
देना.
Oh my god. Oh my god, this is next level gig.
Cool, sir. So I think I won't take much of your time. You've been here for 2 hours. Thank you so much for coming. I'll try to send you a gift basket. Paytm कर दूंगा मैं.
Okay. Ekdam. I'll send you my contact number. You already have my contact number,
I
by the
have,
way,
I have.
right?
We had this in group, ना, they saved.
So you can just send me Paytm. So I'm
I'm
okay.
sneaky that way. मतलब राहुल सर का से ज़्यादा थोड़े दिनों पहले, cause उनका अकाउंट बंद हो गया था ना, तो
He got his account suspended on Twitter.
got back and he's like, राहुल तू निकल गया, मैंने कहा से निकल गया मैं. Okay, बढ़िया है. Cool, sir. We're gonna end the stream. Do you wanna say something,
Perfect.
closing, something
Yeah,
like that?
thank you. Yeah. I'll just say like thank you so much everyone for sticking by so long. It's already been 1.5 years. Generally, whenever I go to streams, even Rahul's stream.
So we have
uh,
23 folks, right? Like, which I don't believe
Okay.
ever happened to
Okay.
any of my streams. So yeah.
Okay, so the thing is like I would definitely want to thank these people. Like they are still sticking by. और मुझे भी ना एक confidence आता है कि ठीक है यार, I had some sort of a value that these people are sticking by, because eventually there are few streams that I register for. I go there, I spend 5 minutes, I drop because I feel I'm not getting enough value over here. But that's not true for you, Rahul. Generally, I get
मैं
busy,
सोच ही
but
रहा था कि हाँ ये बोल दे वरना फिर.
नहीं, I generally come to your streams. I actually look forward to your streams, and just because the way you conduct it, keeping it very human, right, pure, authentic. So that's the reason why I look forward to. But I'm not fortunate enough to spend. So in the meanwhile, I've received n number of messages on my cell phone, right? So even if I look at one message, I have to hop back to my work again, because
Yeah.
there is something that the people need help with, and obviously a lot of restoration work around tech is going on. So yeah, that's the reason. But again, thank you so much everyone, and appreciate it that you people stick by for
Thank,
like 2 hours now.
thank you, Nitish sir. Thank you everyone for coming. And we'll meet next Thursday. I don't know what we'll do, but we'll do something fun. Thank you.
Thank you everyone. Thank you.